The middle-aged man, unable to defeat Long Chen, had actually come up with such a contemptuous play to force Long Chen to defend passively. Suddenly, the land shuddered. Long Chen's barrier of astral energy quivered. Everyone inside of his barrier was sent to the core. The martial heaven continent was protecting everyone so that Long Chen didn't need to split his attention. Long Chen, go kill him quickly. I will use my final power to protect everyone else. The martial heaven continent's voice rang out in his mind. But then Long Chen's heart turned cold. There are no buts. If you don't kill him, we will all be killed. The martial heaven continent shuddered. A translucent bead appeared. This bead was filled with life energy. It was the core of the star field, the heart of this world. The core rapidly expanded until it covered everyone. This was the final energy of the martial heaven continent. The middle-aged man's attacks were repelled by it. It was sacrificing its own life to give Long Chen time to kill him. Long Chen no longer hesitated. He charged towards the middle-aged man. He was about to unleash a punch when Evilmoon suddenly appeared in his hand. Evilmoon. Long Chen, if you have any respect for me, you will continue to treat me as your companion. Let us fight alongside each other again, said Evilmoon. Your power has already started to fall. You can't last much longer. You will enter a weak state soon, and then you could be slaughtered by anyone. Long Chen, to have met you is my life's greatest blessing. You showed me how important comrades are. You taught me that there are things in this world that are more important than your own life. You showed me what true happiness is. What it means to protect something. I can no longer hate Yanshang. My life of devouring and killing was like going through the motions of life as a walking corpse. After meeting you, my view of the world has changed. I saw beautiful things from within endless shadows. Long Chen, I am a warrior of the dark evil dragon race. I have my own pride. I hope you can allow me to fight alongside you again. Evilmoon's 2 dragon marks lit up. A 2-headed black dragon appeared within Long Chen's divine ring. His acupuncture points shuddered as Evilmoon's power passed through his body. Evilmoon. Long Chen tightly clenched his blade. Long Chen, dying in battle is my glory. Waiting on death is a humiliation. Long Chen clenched his teeth. He raised Evilmoon. His eyes were scarlet. A giant saber image tore into the cosmos. This was a blade that would sever the 9 heavens, break the 9 underworlds. It was a blade that made gods and devils quiver. The middle-aged man froze, unable to move. All the divine energy in his body became stagnant. Split the heavens 9. Long Chen howled and slashed his saber down. At the same time, 2 hot streams of tears flowed down as well. Boom. The middle-aged man took out multiple immortal items, unleashing all his power, but was wiped out of existence along with his immortal items. This was a saber that left a giant tear in space that didn't heal. Cracking sounds rang out as the original cracks on Evilmoon grew. Long Chen, thank you. That attack really was marvelous. It's definitely the proudest attack of my lifetime. Goodbye. If there is another life, I'd like to keep fighting alongside you. Evilmoon's voice rang out one final time before it dissipated. Long Chen slowly opened his hand. Even the saber hilt transformed to dust and blew away. Long Chen could only watch as it blew away. It was said that the dragon race has spirits. When they died, they would reincarnate into dragons once more. But which race of dragon would be undetermined? Within the primal chaos space, Linger and the heaven-flipping seal wept. Evilmoon was gone. The martial heaven continent's people let out a burst of cheers, but then the barrier around them faded. Their joy faded along with it. Instead, they were filled with grief. Once the barrier was gone, they sensed that the vitality of the entire world was gone as well. Even the commoners could sense it. This world had died. The martial heaven continent had sacrificed all its power to protect them. It was like a mother protecting her children with her own life. Countless people began weeping. The martial heaven continent had sacrificed itself for them. They thought back to what they had done to the continent. Their limitless greed had constantly damaged the continent, causing it to weaken. They had dug their own graves. But the martial heaven continent never blamed them. It continued to protect them even as they destroyed its body. People sank into grief and sorrow. Although they were alive, they had lost their home. Far too many heroes had died in this battle. Even the Dragonblood Legion had lost over 9,000 people. Although they had won, the Dragonblood warriors didn't feel any joy. Every single warrior of the Dragonblood Legion was as close as a brother. They would rather die to protect the ones beside them than have others die. The ones who had died were dead, but the ones who were alive had to endure more pain. They wished that this was a nightmare that someone would wake them up from. They wished they could wake up and see their fallen brothers laughing once more. Meng Qi, Chu Yao, Yu Zhiqiu, and the others silently sobbed. The price of this battle was too great. It was unimaginable. They looked at Long Chen. Long Chen was looking at his hand. That sinister blade of his had forever vanished. The martial heaven continent was broken. They couldn't see the slightest greenery, the slightest life. The sound of the wind carried their sobs. It was as if even heaven and earth were crying. Since it hurts so much, there's no need to live. You can all just die. I'm a nice person, so I'll send you all away together. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Everyone raised their hands in shock. That middle-aged man had reappeared. The middle-aged man that had clearly been killed by Long Chen had reappeared. Furthermore, he seemed to be in his peak state. Everyone's hearts dropped. It's not a fake death technique. Their auras aren't the same. They aren't the same person, said the high priest. There was actually another member of the 9 underworld hunters remaining. At this moment, Long Chen's divine ring had vanished and his astral power had dimmed. He was in a weakened state. This person looked almost identical to the one he had just killed. But their divine energy fluctuations were different. He walked out of the palace, not going directly toward Long Chen, but simply standing at the entrance. It seemed that he was afraid of Long Chen. The one you killed was my big brother. This big brother of mine spent a lifetime scheming against me. He always wanted to be first, but nobody is infallible. My luck really was good. I managed to tail him and disguise myself as his subordinate, but I didn't expect to gain such a benefit. Now he's dead, and you're crippled. Those idiots of the divine families have long since fled to a higher world as well. By capturing you, I won't even need the Long family's favor. This world really is marvelous. This middle-aged man laughed, feeling very pleased. Long Chen sighed inside. How was he so unlucky? There was actually another one hiding here. If he had been with his big brother, Long Chen could have killed them together. However, now he had used up all his power, only for another powerful enemy to appear. The middle-aged man seemed very cautious. He didn't immediately attack. Do you know just how valuable your life is? The destined one amongst the 9-star heirs is a legendary existence. Whoever captures you will instantly become the master of a world. This lure is truly great. Long Chen suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, and the stars around him faded. The side effect of his 6-star battle armor appeared. Long Chen's body was still unable to endure the power of all his stars igniting. Now I can finally attack. The middle-aged man seemed to have been waiting for this moment. His spear pierced toward Long Chen. Even now, he was still cautious and didn't use his full power, probing Long Chen's condition first. Unfortunately, Long Chen was already powerless to resist. He felt like his bones had collapsed, and just standing there was already difficult. After that, a howl suddenly rang out and little snow appeared in front of Long Chen. A sphere of wind blades shot out of its mouth, knocking aside the spear. Oh! The middle-aged man stared at little snow in disbelief. The moon-howling heavenly wolf race? After recognizing little snow's origin, his shock was replaced with a snicker. The moon-howling heavenly wolf race isn't an existence that the 9 underworld side can provoke. However, the middle-aged man's chain twisted, shooting toward little snow. Seeing this scene, little snow howled furiously and slammed its claw down. Suddenly, the chain curled around little snow's claw, binding it. It then wrapped around little snow's body like a python. Little Snow! Long Chen shouted, but just stepping forward almost caused him to collapse. However, it's not as if we can't just hide from the moon-howling heavenly wolf race. The middle-aged man laughed and pulled on his chain, flinging the bound little Snow into the immortal palace. At this moment, everyone saw that a channel had appeared at the gates of the immortal sealing palace. The experts of the divine families had long since vanished within it. As for little Snow, it was wrapped by spatial energy, and despite its struggles, it also faded. The middle-aged man's spear then whipped back toward Long Chen. Countless sharp barbs appeared on its head. Long Chen clenched his teeth, but he couldn't even raise his arms. His body wasn't listening to him. As a result, a certain someone's blood splashed, dyeing a white dress red. Meng Qi, Chu Yao, Tang Wan, and the others cried out in shock, unable to believe their eyes. The pill fairy had appeared, using her body to block this attack. Her white dress instantly turned red, and time seemed to stand still. No! Long Chen let out a beast-like roar. He already knew what the pill fairy had done for him in this battle. Hence, he no longer had any hatred toward the pill fairy and even felt guilt for misunderstanding her. She had never wanted to harm him. That was the attack from a god. As a result, the pill fairy's divine manifestations slowly faded, and the fire of her soul slowly extinguished. The pill fairy rubbed Long Chen's face with a bitter smile. Long Chen, the reason I became a divine daughter was to protect you. The goal of Pill Valley was to keep an eye on this world and see if there are any 9-star heirs. The only way I could protect your secret was to become a divine daughter. But I didn't expect your status to still be exposed. Qingxian, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. Long Chen wept, feeling a mix of remorse and hatred. Long Chen, I understand. I understand. The pill fairy suddenly began to pant, and her entire air changed. A new light flashed within her beautiful eyes. It was as if she was lost in endless memories. So that's what it was, the pill fairy suddenly wept. No wonder I had a strange feeling when I first saw you. I've already fallen in love with you for 1,000 reincarnations. Every time, I will die like this in front of you. These 1,000 reincarnations are all to wake you up from the red dust. But this time, I know that I won't have to reincarnate again. I can feel that you've already awakened. With every reincarnation, I am unable to awaken my memories while alive. It is only before my death that I can remember. Long Chen, I've loved you for 1,000 lifetimes. You must find me. In life and death, you must find me. The pill fairy slowly faded and a blooming flower appeared suddenly. That was the jewel blood jade orchid that Long Chen had once given her. It possessed its own sad and beautiful story. The pill fairy had always carried it with her. The jewel blood jade orchid then absorbed the pill fairy's remaining blood qi in the air, giving off a faint burst of light before it vanished along with its owner. No! Long Chen suddenly roared. Black lines rapidly spread through his eyes until they were pitch black, and his aura instantly transformed, becoming dark, bloodthirsty, and wild. It was as if a devil had awakened inside of him. Within a mix of regret and hatred, dark energy exploded from deep within Long Chen's soul, completely out of his control. Long Chen's eyes instantly became 2 black holes, which looked as if they could devour all things between heaven and earth. With a single roar, the void exploded and stars fell. A sinister aura enveloped the entire world. Seeing this scene, the middle-aged man was alarmed. Was this really a 9-star heir? How did Long Chen suddenly become such a terrifying monster? Hence, he immediately fled back into the immortal palace. However, just as he was about to enter the spatial gate, Long Chen's hand reached out. With a startled cry, his body was pulled back out by Long Chen. The middle-aged man attacked in horror, but when his chain struck Long Chen, black light burst out of Long Chen's body, instantly blasting the chain apart. Long Chen then grabbed his throat with one hand and held his arm with the other hand. Just why? The middle-aged man screamed as his arm was forcibly torn off by Long Chen. His divine blood sprayed through the air. Why must you force me? Long Chen howled, seemingly insane. He tore off the middle-aged man's other arm and then his legs. All of his struggles were meaningless. Any immortal items he took out shattered on contact with Long Chen. The current Long Chen was an unmatched devil god, and this middle-aged man was unable to pose any threat to him at all. With his limbs gone, Long Chen struck his body, blowing it to pieces. All that remained was his head. After that, Long Chen stabbed a finger through his head. Black chi then swirled out of Long Chen's forehead. He seemed to have already lost his mind. Reverse to the origin, Heaven-Defyingly Immortal Slayer. This was a technique that Long Chen had never used before. But in this state he used it naturally. The middle-aged man's head then exploded, and his blood transformed into a chain that shot into the immortal ceiling palace. After that, Long Chen looked at the channel and saw countless figures at the end. He saw Feng Fei as well as the half-dead Long Outyin being carried away. However, Long Chen ignored them. His spiritual strength burst forth, making the immortal ceiling palace creak and crack, and fragments of space-time flew past him. He saw countless 9 underworld hunters and also countless 9-star heirs being killed. Within those scenes, he also saw a certain figure. Brahma! Long Chen let out a heaven-shaking roar when he saw that figure. When he looked at Lord Brahma, he saw the person he wanted to kill the most in his life. His image was not quite the same as Pill Valley's divine statue, but his aura was the same. He was definitely Lord Brahma. After that, the figure moved and his gaze fell on Long Chen. In that instant, the palace exploded and divine energy unfurled. No! The Martial Heaven Continent's experts despaired as this sudden attack was too much. The entire world was just one blow away from breaking. It now collapsed, disintegrating, turning into nothing along with all of them. Long Chen, Meng Qi and the others cried out. When that wave of divine light spread, Long Chen used his own body to receive it for everyone. However, that divine light possessed an unimaginable destructive power. When it fell, Long Chen vanished along with the Martial Heaven Continent. Darkness, endless darkness. Long Chen felt like he was sinking and was filled with resentment. With a single attack, Lord Brahma had destroyed him along with the Martial Heaven Continent. I'm sorry, sovereigns. I'm sorry, Martial Heaven Continent. I'm sorry, everyone. I've disappointed you. Long Chen suddenly let out a scream. Everyone was dead. He was a failure who had let down everyone's trust. What the hell is wrong with you? You scared me. Long Chen's shout drew countless looks of scorn and angry chiding. Hearing this, Long Chen realized that he was at the bottom of a mountain, sitting on the side of a road. There was a long line of people stretching far into the distance. Ugh, why are you arguing with someone who failed? Don't you see how pitiable he is? Said one person. That person helped Long Chen up and comforted, "Little brother, a failure is a failure. It's not the end of the world. You can try again 30 years later. Just look at me. I've taken the trial 4 times. I'm already 150 years old, but I haven't given up. Just take some tips from me and get over this failure. Go home and properly cultivate some more, and you'll have another chance." At this moment, Long Chen looked around and saw that everyone around him was wearing extravagant clothes. Those materials did not exist on the Martial Heaven Continent. These people's auras were extremely powerful. They had all reached the level of the 13th heaven stage of heaven merging, but they all looked very young. Furthermore, their auras contained immortal chi. Brother, where is this place?" asked Long Chen. That person stared at him in confusion. "Oh, you've been beaten, stupid. Brother, you should go back to wherever you came from." That person patted Long Chen's shoulder and left to his own place in line, seemingly not knowing how to comfort Long Chen. The surrounding people then looked at Long Chen, some with sympathy and some with scorn. Also, some were pointing and laughing at him. Long Chen's head was dizzy, so he walked in the opposite direction of the line. He walked over to an empty mountain to calm himself down. 9-star heirs truly are admirable. Suddenly, a voice rang out in his mind and made him jump. "You're back." Long Chen was happily surprised. This voice was one that he would remember forever. It was that expert from the dragon race that had helped him out once before. This dragon expert had even passed the dragon blood body tempering art to him. How could I not return? If you died, how would I collect on your debt? Are all the 9-star heirs stupid? You don't think about the consequences of your actions? For a little mortal like you to dare to peer at Lord Brahma, you'd have been blown to smithereens if it wasn't for me, said that dragon expert. Senior, are you saying that they're also not dead? Long Chen's voice shuddered. Of course they're not dead. The instant Lord Brahma's attack fell, I sent you all away. Those who reached the 10th heaven stage and were qualified to ascend were sent to the immortal world, while those below that level were sent to an isolated star. The conditions there are far better than on the martial heaven continent. Then what about my brothers and sisters in the Dragonblood Legion? Asked Long Chen. If everyone was still alive, he wanted to see them. Them? It will probably be a long time before you ever see them again. Alive. Everyone is still alive. Nian wept. When the immortal ceiling palace exploded, he held on to Lu Zhonging tightly, thinking that they would both die. Unexpectedly, they were saved and he had even ascended to the immortal world. It was his first time feeling how great it was to be alive. After being saved by a mysterious expert of the dragon race, he learned that the others were also alive. At that moment, he was so overwhelmed that he wept. However, just as he was crying, he heard some strange sounds ring out beside him. Only then did he notice that he was in a cemetery. Not far from him was an extremely ancient gravestone, and there was a dust-covered elder getting to work on it with a chisel and hammer in hand. The sky was dark. Realizing that he was in a cemetery, Nian suddenly wondered if he really hadn't been saved. Was he actually dead? Old man, it's dark out here. You should go home and sleep. What are you doing here? Nian summoned his courage and spoke. The elder didn't even raise his head. He continued striking the gravestone. Child, you should sleep first. Some people wrote my name wrong here, so I'm fixing it. Nian's head buzzed and his feelings of gratitude vanished. Now he really was unsure if he was dead or alive. Hee, little fellow, you have the air of tombstones on you. You wouldn't be so cowardly, right? The elder put down his tools and looked back at Nian. After that, Nian was startled. The elder's back had looked so sloppy, but from the front, he was actually quite handsome. He looked graceful and noble. Junior was unable to see Senior clearly. Please forgive this Junior. Nian was quite smart. Despite not knowing who this elder was, his years of experience and intuition were telling him that this person was definitely not ordinary. The elder waved his hand. Don't talk such nonsense. I was messing around, cough. I was wandering the land when I suddenly felt moved into stopping here for a moment. I'm quite busy, you know, so I'll only give you an incense stick's worth of time. Show me your worth. If you satisfy me, I can accept you under my wing. Nian was startled and didn't quite understand. Hence, the elder impatiently said, let us get right to the point. What do you think about this cemetery? Thinking of what the elder had been doing, Nian suddenly realized something. He then examined his surroundings and cautiously said, this cemetery faces the northeast, with its back pointing toward the southwest. Moreover, both sides are narrow with a wide center. This is typical of a northeast-southwest cemetery. The wind blows from the northeast, while water flows from the southwest. The large tomb at the center must be the node of this feng shui. As a result, this cemetery is most likely fooling people's eyes and ears. It is most likely hiding some hidden mechanisms. The main tomb is likely 900 meters to the north. Nian immediately began to talk nonstop. Perhaps Nian might not be skilled in other things, but when it came to grave robbing, he was truly the #1 person in the martial heaven continent. He had even gone to the corrupt god cemetery multiple times and was skilled in all matters of tombs, including the important feng shui matters. Seeing Nian's eyes shining, the elder gradually smiled. Having started, Nian couldn't stop. The northeast and southwest are covered in soil. The descendants of this tomb's master did not burn enough incense and wanted to use this method to change it. Furthermore, the majority of the gravestone is facing the southwest. This indicates that the master of this tomb did not have enough women in their family. They didn't want men, but more women? Nian found himself bewildered, feeling like he had made some misjudgment somewhere. Ah, little fellow, you have some skill. This is a branch of a clan whose leaders are women. You were mostly correct in everything that you said, but there are some things very different in the immortal world compared to the mortal world. Since you are able to remember this much, it proves that your talent isn't ordinary. For you to have this great profession in your heart is excellent. The elder laughed, very satisfied with Nian's display. In fact, it seemed to have far exceeded his expectations. He stood up. Little fellow, you're excellent. Your luck is also good to meet me. It can be said that our line of work is known to all within heaven and earth. Since we don't have much time, you can just accept me as master. Starting today, you are my apprentice. I will pass down all my life's learning to you. Disciple Nian greets master. Nian was delighted and hastily went through a formal 9 kowtows. He hadn't expected his luck to be so good. As soon as he entered the immortal world, such a master already accepted him as an apprentice. He would definitely soar. Ah, good. Little apprentice, remember, your master's mighty name, Kada. What? Nian couldn't believe his ears. Would someone really give themselves the name of Kada? It's K as in the K in palace. But they all call me Taoist immoral when it's actually Taoist Kada. Sometimes, I'm influenced by them so the accent sounds a bit off, said the elder. He laughed, and the air of a graceful immortal completely vanished, replaced with certain wickedness that made Nian feel like he had fallen for a con. Good apprentice, Ka. This is your master's first gift for you. The elder handed a black hat to Nian. Nian was dumbfounded. This black hat didn't have a single divine rune on it, and it didn't look like anything special. Master, Nian wanted to gracefully decline. Taoist Kada seemed to read Nian's thoughts and took out another gift. It was a pair of worn-down leather boots. Seeing this, Nian almost fainted. This master of his was too stingy, wasn't he? Nian truly felt like he had been tricked. He cautiously probed. Master, apprentice's weapons were destroyed in the mortal world. Do you think? Child, do you think that I'm stingy? You think that I can't even provide you with a good weapon? Taoist Kada smiled. After saying that, he took out a shovel. Now, Nian really felt like he would faint. Senior, I'm a Bao user, said Nian angrily. He no longer even called him master. He truly felt conned. I know, you'll definitely work hard. Don't worry, with your talent and dedication, plus my guidance, you will definitely become a figure that shakes the 9 heavens and 10 lands. It was unknown if Taoist Kada didn't hear him properly or simply acted like he didn't. Child, do you know the true meaning in me giving you this shovel? Asked Taoist Kada solemnly. What? Nian was startled. It's the start of work. The treasures won't dig themselves out, said Taoist Kada. Damn, you really are immoral. You give me these broken things. And you want me to follow you? Nian finally erupted in fury. Hee, why else would others call me Taoist immoral? Laughed Taoist Kada, seemingly quite pleased with himself. Furthermore, you are about to understand why I gave you those things and how to use them. Just at that moment, the void shuddered and countless terrifying auras erupted. Immortal light blazed, forming a giant formation that trapped everything here. A furious voice rang out. It sounds the same as his real name. The K in his real name means palace when written as. It sounds the same as a hard worker. So Nian says that he's a Bao user/hard worker, and Taoist Immoral says that he knows that he's a hard worker. This cemetery was instantly surrounded by countless experts, and Nian's expression changed. These people's auras were many times stronger than the 9 underworld hunters he had encountered. After that, rays of divine light shot toward the two of them. Nian cried out in terror. This was too fast for him to even react. However, light suddenly shone from the hat on his head, blocking those attacks. What are you standing there like an idiot for? Taoist Kada pushed Nian. When Nian took a step, his new worn-down leather boots lit up. After that, his body actually floated and he shot away. In just a few steps, he arrived in front of the barrier. It had to be known that upon entering the immortal world, the spiritual yuan in his body was severely suppressed. He was unable to fly like on the Martial Heaven continent, let alone tear through space with a wave of his hand. In order to fly here, Nian would need to refine some immortal spiritual qi. However, having just ascended, he had no such thing in his body and couldn't even use his magical arts. He was just like a non-cultivator. However, his boots and hat were miraculous, and he was able to activate them with just a thought. Without needing another reminder, he smashed his shovel at the barrier. Boom! A giant hole appeared in the barrier, and the two of them fled out of it. The others chased them while cursing. In general, their cursing was about how immoral they were and to stop and fight. Fortunately, Nian's boots brought him flying away. His legs moved so fast they were like wheels. After an hour of running, Nian had long since lost sight of those people. He finally stopped, panting like a dog. The only difference was that he didn't stick his tongue out. Furthermore, after running for so long, he felt his soul ache. He was also dizzy and nauseated. This is the higher plane. The immortal spiritual qi here has been absorbed into your body due to your efforts. You'll get used to it. Once you have become accustomed to the immortal world, your master will pass some secret arts to you. Our line will grow to new heights. Taoist Jade stopped as well. He had been right behind Nian the entire time. I was actually worried for you, but your fleeing skills are amazingly refined. I can tell that you've been chased by countless people in the lower plane. Master, I was foolish before, said Nian, a bit uneasy. He hadn't expected that what he had thought to be trash would actually be treasures. He had gone a bit too far just now. I'm your master. A master is like a father. Why would I quibble with you over these things? Taoist Jade smiled. Master, you're so powerful, so why did we run? Why not beat them? Asked Nian. Although Taoist Jade had yet to show his true power, considering that he was like a phantom following Nian, leaving those other experts in the dust, it was clear he was stronger than them. Does it have anything to do with being stronger? I dug out their tombs. It's rude, so I will kindly make up for it by not returning punches or curses. Remember, little one, this is the rule of our line. Don't break it, said Taoist Jade solemnly. Master, what kind of line are we in? Is it some sect? Asked Nian. Listen well. We are the line of the immeasurable palace. I am the 97th generation palace master, and you are my only disciple. In the future, you will be the 98th generation palace master, said Taoist Jade. Nian was delighted. He hadn't expected to muddle his way into such a grand power as soon as he entered the immortal world. His future prospects were truly immeasurable. Excellent. I'll make that little fellow, Long Chen, die of envy the next time we meet. Nian laughed delightedly. It seemed that he could already see the day of millions of immortals worshipping him. Who is Long Chen? Asked Taoist Jade randomly. He's the only one to put me at a disadvantage when it comes to showing off. But that fellow's luck is terrible. He definitely won't have this kind of good luck like me, said Nian, very pleased. Master, where is our immeasurable palace located? Can you bring your disciple to see it? There's no need for such a thing. Why not? It was torn down. Taoist Jade shrugged helplessly. What? Nian was dumbfounded. Then can't you build a new one? Where are the immeasurable palace's disciples? Aren't they right here? Taoist Jade stared at him. Are you kidding? Don't tell me that in the entire immeasurable palace, I'm the only disciple. Taoist Jade nodded. That's correct. Starting at the 37th generation, we started to pass down our inheritance from one master to one apprentice all the way to now. Nian almost coughed up a mouthful of blood. It was completely different from his imagination. Why does it feel like your immeasurable palace has already declined? Are you conning me? That's the wrong way to put it. Child, 8,000 years ago, I swept through the 100 domains and 1,000 prefectures in search of an outstanding successor, but I didn't find a single person I could pass my inheritance down to. If I didn't have a bit of power, do you think I'd be so picky? Let me put it to you this way. If you can learn everything I have to teach, there will be no one in this world who dares to offend you. Of course, if you are skilled enough, You can revitalize our immeasurable palace. Then you would be the most amazing figure other than our immeasurable immortal venerate, said Taoist Kada. Nian felt stunned, not knowing how much of what this old fellow was saying was true. Furthermore, the latter's wretched smile did not feel reliable. As the two of them spoke, an immortal sword slashed through the void, making Nian feel like his soul would explode. He didn't know what kind of existence had just appeared. Suddenly, Taoist Kada's wretched smile vanished. He then unleashed a palm, and a rainbow bridge appeared in the air. The rainbow bridge was destroyed but blocked the attack. Meanwhile, Taoist Kada grabbed Nian and fled. Who is that? How are they so terrifying? Asked Nian. It's an immortal king. In terms of power, he's sloppy, but he's completely unreasonable and immoral. For this kind of person, I decided to clean out his ancestral tomb, and he's been chasing me for 3 days. According to the rules, I can't fight back, so I can only flee. Don't worry, you'll get used to it in a few years. Your master will lead you through various ancient tombs to excavate the remnants of history and find the mystery of the immeasurable palace's fall, said Taoist Kada. Who would have thought that just a few years from now, this immoral Taoist would raise a figure who would shake the entire immortal world? This was a tranquil forest of towering trees. Every tree here was huge, even bigger than the star-field divine world's mother tree. Such giant trees had actually formed a forest stretching far beyond the horizon. A blood-colored moon hung in the sky. This blood moon was very large. Furthermore, it was a constant in the sky. It didn't move. Its light nourished this forest. Deep within the forest was a long-haired elder. He sat on top of a mountain, basking in the light of the blood moon. He seemed to be breathing in its radiance. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. A middle-aged man appeared before him. The elder asked, "You still haven't found the Wolf Emperor's sprout?" The man shook his head, causing the elder to sigh. That one slip caused us to lose the Wolf Emperor's egg. There are too many powers that worship us. It's impossible to tell where it went. It's been 1,000,000 years with still no news. Ancestor, Lord Brahma's side has sent word. Tell him to scram as far as he can and stop disturbing our moon-howling heavenly wolf race. We will not be threatened. If he doesn't like it, we can fight to the death. There are no cowards here, snorted the elder. This elder was the ancestral patriarch of the moon-howling heavenly wolf race. This was their ancestral land, the Blood Moon Divine Domain. Another person came over, respectfully reporting, "Someone from the 9 Underworld line came, asking to see you." The man frowned. "The 9 Underworld line has nothing to do with us. Those despicable assassins can scram." "Wait," the elder suddenly asked, "why did they come?" "They said that they noticed a member of our race in a lower plane. It had the mark of a blood moon on its forehead." "What?" Both the middle-aged man and the elder shook, filled with disbelief. "Let go of me. I have to find my brother Long." Wild roared angrily, transforming into a giant form. But he was still pushed down by another giant hand. His struggling tore a massive hole in the ground, but he was unable to escape that hand. He was surrounded by a group of giants who were even bigger than him. All of them possessed powerful physical bodies, to the point that their blood chi looked like it was about to explode. "Your brother Long isn't in the same domain. You won't be able to find him," said the giant, pressing him down with a smile. The surrounding people seemed to be watching happily. They were smiling, and yet when one of them spoke, his voice was like thunder booming in the air. "I still have to find him. He treats me well." "You don't treat me well," roared Wild. However, he was like a baby fighting adults. The power that he was so proud of was useless. After 2 hours, he was finally out of energy and stopped struggling. His stomach grumbled thunderously. A giant dish thumped onto the ground in front of him. There was a giant earthen dragon on the dish. Without a word, Wild grabbed it and stuffed his face. As soon as he recovered, he tried running away, only to be grabbed by someone. The same scene repeated itself. The surrounding people seemed to have already gotten used to this. They continued watching. They were like giant mountains soaring into the grounds. But it wasn't mountains, it was giants. Their shoulders were amongst the clouds. These giants smiled with gratification as they watched wild. One of the elders said, "The barbarian king's reincarnation has actually been sent here. It seems that there's hope for our barbarian race." Just as our karmic luck was about to run out, the barbarian king's reincarnation appears. Our line can once more soar. Little girl, you have Imputa's aura on you. It's a bit dislikable. But your talent, aptitude, and that look in your eyes has moved me. I can see your desire to get stronger. I can break the rules and accept you as a disciple, but you must promise to endure the pain of cleansing your soul in order to remove Imputa's mark on you. Are you willing? Asked a woman in tight clothing and short hair. As long as I can get stronger, I am willing to do anything. The speaker was Dong Mingyu. Before her was an existence who struck terror in the hearts of countless people. But starting today, you as my Yi Wuxing's disciple. But remember, you are only a disciple. If you want to become my personal apprentice, you can deliver Imputa's head to me first. That can be considered a formal gift between master and apprentice, said the short-haired woman. That's just what I wanted. Dong Mingyu nodded. She hated this despicable killing god. The woman smiled slightly. Dong Mingyu seemed to please her. Holding her hand, she vanished into the void with her. Yu Zifeng stared at the lofty mountain in front of him. An overwhelming sword will fill this entire world. At the peak of the mountain was a sword. The sword was stabbed not only through the mountain, but through the sky as well. The stars revolved around it, giving off endless majesty. Boss, take care of yourself. When we meet again, I'll protect you. Yu Zifeng took a deep breath and began climbing the mountain. From the sky, he was like an ant climbing a giant mountain. However, his footsteps persevered staunchly. Big brother, I've admired the Heavenly Dragon Divine Armor College for a long time. I've come a long way to study here. I beg of you to let me join in the trial. Once I pass, we will be apprentice brothers. With my talent, I will definitely soar and repay you when the time comes. Guo Ran had spent 7 days here to learn how people spoke here. This was the Divine Armor College's registration stand. There would only be one chance to enroll every 3 years. It was said that it was the strongest college for forging armor within this star field. There was an endless stream of people applying. However, just applying cost 300 immortal crystals. To Guo Ran, who had only just ascended, that was an impossible price. He didn't have any of this world's currency. He had tried to go to a pawnshop and sell what he had, but when he took out the divine materials of the martial heaven continent, he was directly kicked out. If it wasn't due to how weak he was, people would probably have beaten him, thinking he was trying to waste their time. The lower plane's divine materials were trash here. People wouldn't take it even if you gave it to them. Helplessly, Guo Ran could only resort to begging, hoping to muddle his way in. As long as he could take the test, he was confident that he could pass. After all, in terms of battle armors, he had devoted himself for a long time. Joining this college was paramount to his future. You again? Scram. This isn't a charity. Can someone as poor as you even afford to build a single set of battle armor? Don't joke, scoffed a disciple. Studying how to build the best battle armor was a money-burning process. Without a profound foundation of wealth, there was no way to carry it out. Guo Ran's poor appearance didn't appear to be one with money, causing these disciples to look down on him. Don't look down on others. If you want, we can bet who can create the best armor on paper right now. If I win, you let me attend the trial. If I lose, I'll immediately leave and never bother you again. Raged Guo Ran. It was tough to be poor. On the martial heaven continent, Guo Ran had as much money as he wanted, and Long Chen was always there to support him. Now he was powerless though, so he had to enter this college. Quite a few people side-eyed Guo Ran with some surprise. Did he really have some skill to dare to challenge the college's disciples? Or was he simply crazy? Scram. Who has time to bet with you? Do you not see how many people are lined up? Barked that disciple. He sent a palm at Guo Ran. Seeing this, Guo Ran instinctively raised his arm to block, but he didn't expect that just as that person's palm was about to meet his arm, thin lines would appear over his hand, transforming into a refined glove. Guo Ran then felt a powerful force send him flying, and he tumbled through the air before smashing into a wall. Blood dripped out of his mouth. Haha. Quite a few disdainful laughs rang out from the crowd. Guo Ran furiously cursed, "Just wait, I'll remember this. Once I find my boss Long Chen, I'll come back." When Guo Ran thought about vengeance for these wrongs, the first thing he thought of was Long Chen, and his boss's name randomly popped out of his mouth. Long Chen? Who's that? Is he very famous? "Have him come find me," said that disciple disdainfully. "You know Long Chen? The martial heaven continent's Long Chen?" Suddenly, a sharp voice rang out. Only now did people notice that a war chariot had appeared in the sky. The war chariot was covered in magical symbols. When those disciples saw it, they hastily bowed. "Greetings, Earthmaster." The symbols on the chariot were a token of the owner's status. In the Heavenly Dragon Divine Armor College, only those who had reached the level of an Earthmaster were qualified to sit in such a chariot. Furthermore, the current speaker was one of the female Earthmasters. "Who are you?" Guo Ran wiped the blood off of his mouth. He cautiously looked at the war chariot. "Rude brat, properly respond to the Earthmaster's question," barked the disciple. After that, the front doors of the chariot opened to the side, and a woman walked out, looking to be in her 20s. Her legs were longer than a normal person's legs, and her black hair fell to her waist. Her bright eyes stood out on her face. She then smiled at Guo Ran. "Is Long Chen well? Has he ascended yet?" she asked. "You know my boss?" asked Guo Ran in disbelief. "First answer me. Did you come from the martial heaven continent?" When Guo Ran nodded, she asked again, "Does he have a pair of sword-like eyebrows?" When he's not smiling, he looks very fierce, but when he does smile, it looks a bit evil. He also has a pitch-black Dragonbone saber that looks extremely ferocious. "You really do know my boss." Guo Ran was startled. How could someone in the higher plane know Long Chen? Most importantly, since Long Chen was a 9-star heir, Guo Ran didn't dare to recklessly expose Long Chen's identity. However, this woman knew so many details about his appearance and even Evilmoon, so she had definitely met him before. Good. So has he come to the higher plane? Where is he? She asked. He should also be in the higher plane, but we were separated. I don't know where he is, said Guo Ran, feeling aggrieved. Without Long Chen, it felt like he had lost the lantern lighting his way. That was because ever since he had encountered Long Chen, it could be said that Long Chen had been looking after the Dragonblood Legion. Hence, for Guo Ran to go from a second-rate hoodlum to his current level was all thanks to Long Chen holding his hand. He sighed inside. He was worried for Long Chen, but he also realized that he had been too dependent on Long Chen for too long. In the face of this foreign world, he felt powerless and afraid. He, Guo Ran, had never been a strong person himself. How regretful. This world is so big. The 9 heavens, 10 lands, 100 domains, 1,000 prefectures. Finding one person within this world is too difficult. The woman was disappointed, but she quickly smiled. That's all right, such a powerful fellow doesn't need to be worried about. As long as we keep him in our hearts, we'll definitely receive news from him sooner or later. So, just now, I heard that they were fighting with you, Earthmaster. It wasn't like this. He was messing around rudely. He didn't pay the fee for the test, so we were just following the rules. Cried out that disciple hastily. He's right. The main thing is, I'm broke, said Guo Ran, ashamed. It's not embarrassing to be poor. I was also poor back then. That's the only reason I took the risk of making money in the netherworld, and it was due to this that I met your boss. I could reach this level thanks to your boss's help. All right, I'll pay for your fee. Even if you fail, it's fine. I can arrange other things for you. I'll look after you. Thank you, big sister. Guo Ran was ecstatic to the point that he almost wept. In the end, he still was benefiting from his boss. Just like that, Guo Ran swaggered into the testing region with that woman. She directly sent him through. Ah, that's right, I still don't know your name, big sister, said Guo Ran. I am Xie Qianqian. In a dark world filled with the air of rot, menacing trees gave off a pressuring and frightful feeling. One could see giant vines curling around them like dragons. Big sister, Don't worry. This is my race's land. I've awakened my inheritance, so no one here will dare to touch you. Just treat it as your own home. Lu Rian held Chu Yao's hand as they stood within this terrifying forest. Chu Yao was a bit pale from this place's aura. Suddenly, the giant trees parted, forming a path for them. Just like that, Lu Rian walked through with Chu Yao. This place was one of the immortal world's lands of great danger, the Corpse Devil Demon Forest. Big Sister Meng Qi, where are we? Cloud looked at the mountain gate ahead of her and clenched Meng Qi's hand. Just this gate alone gave off terrifying spiritual fluctuations. It was like a heavenly wall blocking all life outside. Meng Qi nodded. According to that senior, the soul dream immortal venerates inheritance is here, and we can get stronger by cultivating here. I no longer want to see Long Chen bleed and cry. Next time, I'll be the one protecting him. After that, Cloud returned to Meng Qi's spiritual space, and Meng Qi staunchly walked toward the mountain gate. Disciple Tang Waner greets Master. Tang Waner properly kowtowed toward a beautiful woman who looked as if she had walked right out of a painting. She was surrounded by swirling immortal qi. That woman pulled Tang Waner up and nodded approvingly. Starting today, you are the final disciple of the one known as Feng Xinyue. Remember, starting today, it is no longer permitted for anyone to bully you, or it would be a loss of your master's face. If you can't beat someone, you can find your senior apprentice brothers and sisters. If they also can't beat them, you can come find me. In a land of white snow and black ice, two women stared at each other. Both of them wore clothes as white as snow, and they were peerlessly beautiful. However, they were both completely expressionless, like two statues of ice goddesses. One of them was Yi Zhiqiu. The other was an equally icy woman looking to be in her 30s. The two of them stared at each other within the ice and snow. They were silent for a full 2 hours, neither of them moving. Finally, it was that woman who said, "Are you willing to be my disciple?" Her voice was completely emotionless. Furthermore, it sounded a bit off, as if she hadn't spoken in so long that she had forgotten how to. "I am willing." Yi Zhiqiu nodded. "Let's go." The woman turned and walked away. Yi Zhiqiu then silently followed behind her, both of them not saying another word. Just like that, they vanished into the world of ice and snow. Xiaoqian, you have strong karma tying you to the 9-star heir. You must work hard if you wish to help him. We have managed to preserve our complete inheritance along with the strongest divine abilities of the original devil race here. This is the best place for you to cultivate. In a divine palace, an old crone holding a cane was speaking to you, Xiaoqian. In front of her was a mountain-sized pile of bone books, and divine light flowed from them. Countless techniques of the original devil race were recorded within. Yu Xiaoqian ended up in the original devil race's ancestral land upon being sent to the immortal world. After that, she was shocked to find the original devil race's complete inheritance. Long Chen, I'll go all out cultivating. I won't let you bleed or cry again. Yu Xiaoqian bit her lip and swore inside. Yu Xiaoqian had never expected someone like Long Chen to howl and weep like he had. His shoulders had held up the heavens, but that didn't stop the ones he cared about from dying. Seeing him in that state had cut her heart. Now that she had a chance to get stronger, she didn't waste a single second. She would not permit such a thing to repeat itself. Xia Chen, bring the line drawing liquid. Xia Chen, there's not enough magic adherence hides here. Xia Chen, what are you doing? You're so slow. Hurry up. Xia Chen was covered in sweat. He hastily brought over the things that those people were requesting. Little fellow, let me tell you, I only let you become a worker here because I pity you. I'm taking the risk of being scolded for this. Thus, you have to be clever. Treat these people well. These are future respected formation masters. We can't offend them. Although our work is tiring, we still get paid a lot. Cherish this chance, murmured a somewhat fat disciple beside Xia Chen. Yes, I understand. Thank you, big brother. I won't cause you any trouble, said Xia Chen hastily. Future formation masters? Bullshit. He was capable of using his feet to draw better formations than them. If the Spirit Rune Pavilion didn't need a fee to enter, would he need to bend to them? It was said that this Spirit Rune Pavilion was a first-rate college even in the entire immortal world. However, due to some management problems, it had declined. But it still had several supreme treasures, existences that could be considered immortal canons in the formation world. So even if there were problems with management, countless people still came here for those immortal canons. Chen was working like a dog here as he researched the materials and techniques of this place. After all, this was the immortal world, and their study of the immortal Dao's runes was incredibly profound. The martial heaven continent's formations were like a cup of water compared to a giant sea here. However, Chen was the most outstanding formation master of the martial heaven continent. Compared to these newly entered disciples, his fundamentals were 100 times better. These divine runes were instantly memorized with just one look from Chen, while these disciples could spend half a day to remember part of it, only for a distraction to cause them to completely forget it. In their anger, they would vent at Chen and the other workers. Even these pigs can learn formations? Just wait, you'll only have this one chance to shout at me. Hee, let's switch places. Chen looked at those irritable disciples and a faint smile appeared on his face. Back to the mountain, Chen was filled with gratitude to learn that the dragon expert had sent everyone to their own opportunities. This battle of the martial heaven continent had been a huge blow to him. He hadn't managed to protect the continent, and it had been ultimately destroyed. The hopes of the 5 sovereigns were let down. If it weren't for the dragon expert, he would have been destroyed along with the martial heaven continent. In his hands, everything had been smashed apart. Thinking of how he had promised the 5 sovereigns, he was filled with guilt. Chen, you have to work hard. Don't think that being a 9-star heir is so great. Those brothers of yours are like seeds who will sprout after this experience. If you don't work hard, it really will fall to them to protect you. In the past, 9-star heirs were all solitary figures without a single friend, but you're different. Perhaps it's because of this that I took the risk of saving you. I want to gamble, and a portion of those chips are placed on you. I hope that you can grow up a bit faster. Perhaps you will be able to help me at that time, but the current you is too weak. Don't be defeated by this failure. Recover and find your confidence again. Return to the fearless you, said the dragon expert. Senior, don't worry. It can be said that I have been reborn today. In the immortal world, I will create my own slice of heaven and earth. I won't allow the disaster of the martial heaven continent to repeat itself. Chen clenched his fists. Good. Then your chance has come. It's just up to you if you can grasp it, said the dragon expert. What opportunity? Asked Chen. This is the High Firmament Academy. It is the academy with the deepest foundation within the 100 domains and 1,000 prefectures. Although it has declined, it will be of immense help to you. If you want to stand out within the immortal world, this is the best stepping stone. There are also records of 9-star heirs in the academy. If you want to understand yourself, that will be a good start. I sent you here because I feel like the High Firmament Academy is best suited to you. However, no one can change the fate of a 9-star heir. You are the only one who can decide what to do. In the end, you'll have to rely on yourself, said the dragon expert. Since Senior thinks that this is the best place for me, I'll muddle around here for a while. However, Senior, can you help me see where my friends from the martial heaven continent are? Chen knew that this expert had saved him and also the others. But he still wasn't completely at ease when it came to his father, his mother, his little sister, and the others that had helped him. No problem. Close your eyes. I will share my sight with you. After Chen closed his eyes, stars appeared in his vision. They were like grains of sand in his view, startling him. Looking up, he saw larger clusters of stars. There were 9 of them in total, and below each cluster was a giant star. These giant stars were even bigger than the 9 clusters. Chen wanted to keep looking when the dragon expert's voice rang out in his mind. Don't look around randomly. Do not invoke karma for nothing. Chen's vision then passed through countless stars. It was like he was walking the corridor of space-time, and he quickly arrived at one particular star. This star was constantly growing. At the same time, he saw broken stars lying all around. They were closer, so he could see the scars of battle. Some were fractured and floating within the starry sky. Everything he saw was ruined, and countless stars were broken. Some battlefields still had blood staining them. He also saw some faint chains at the bottom of these stars. They were translucent, almost like spider webs. He didn't know where they stretched off to. In this tribulation, the martial heaven continent was just one battlefield. So it's a far greater plot. Seeing those broken stars infuriated Long Chen. Just what had caused enough hatred for someone to indiscriminately slaughter innocent lives? Was there such a thing as justice in this world? Don't look back. Long Chen followed those lines. It felt as if those threads led back to right behind him, but when he wanted to turn back, the dragon expert stopped him. Some things are not for the current you to touch. That will only expose you more quickly, chided the dragon expert sternly. Junior understands, said Long Chen. You've already awakened the purgatory eyes. Once they are activated, it will also activate the specific hegemon chi of the 9-star heirs. That is the other entirely different power of the 9-star line other than their astral power. It can be considered a condensation of all negative emotions within this world. This power far surpasses your astral power. But once it is used, you will lose all reasoning and become a berserk devil. That is why you were so crazy when you activated your purgatory eyes that you directly chased the source all the way to Lord Brahma's image. You were a fool who only wanted to kill without thinking about the consequences. There is simply no way to describe the difference between the two of you with words. That purgatory power will ignite the suppressed emotions in your heart, and you will become so crazy that you won't even recognize your friends. You will only kill. The 9 underworld hunters are very sensitive to this aura. They have special tools for tracking this aura down, so I've temporarily sealed your purgatory eyes. They won't activate again for at least a short time. The image of the pill fairy dying in front of him suddenly hit him with full force. His grief and fury had devoured him in an instant. After that, everything went dark. By the time he came back to his senses, he thought that he was already dead. He didn't recall anything about the time the purgatory eyes activated. He didn't even know what kind of power that was. It was like it hadn't happened. There was a time in hell when your life was in danger. Your purgatory eyes might have been activated by how deep within hell you were. It was Evilmoon who knocked you unconscious and stopped the purgatory eyes from consuming you. Evilmoon didn't know what your purgatory eyes were, but as a member of the dark race, it was far more sensitive toward that sinister and domineering power. It did this because it didn't want you to be the same as it, a solitary killer. It had been changed by you and liked your life, your world, said the dragon expert. Another wave of grief washed over Long Chen. The companion that he had depended on all this time had also left him. The dragon expert continued, however, the purgatory eyes are actually the dark side of your inner heart. The more you suppress it, the more you feed it. That is also why this seal is simply temporary. This kind of power cannot be stopped for too long. If too long passes, it will be completely uncontrollable. This is why all members of the 9-star line are solitary existences. But you are a strange variant of the 9-star heirs. As for how you overcome the 9-star hegemon body art, it will be up to you. Long Chen nodded inside. No one could help him with such a thing. He could only rely on himself. Suddenly, a certain star appeared within his eyes. This was a star filled with life, and there were no chains connected to this star. This is a pure land that has escaped the battle. Their lives are all good here. Long Chen saw the martial heaven continent's people in this world. They were exploring the new world. Although there were no indigenous people here, there were many fierce beasts. Hence, they had to gather all their power to fight the fierce beasts. Long Chen then saw people begin excavating ores and refining weapons to fight their enemies. After that, he quickly saw his father and mother. He also saw Xiao. Upon seeing that they were safe, his heart was finally at ease. As for the center of where they were gathered, they had built a giant plaza. The center of this plaza had a giant statue erected with countless people constantly kowtowing to it. This statue was him. If you wish to, you can leave a strand of your divine will on this statue. It will then become a seed to gather faith energy and will definitely help you in the future, said the dragon expert. Long Chen shook his head. They kowtow to me due to gratitude. But if I were to leave a seed of my divine will, it would become a kind of deceit. I disdain doing such a thing. Upon ascending to the immortal world, Long Chen seemed to understand many things that he hadn't before. He gained a deeper understanding of the god inheritances left in the lower plane. When it came to accepting these people's worship, he didn't feel anything wrong with it. He knew that they weren't just kowtowing to him but also kowtowing to the 5 sovereigns, to Big Brother Yun Tian, to Senior Ling Yunzi, the old man, Chu Jianying, and the other countless heroes who had sacrificed themselves. This statue stood as a testament to their heroism. It was for them to recall just how painful that battle was and to make them cherish their current peace. Perhaps a long time from now, when they had gotten used to peace, they would forget this pain, forget this history. When the memories grew faint, people would question the history and turn it into a story. They would then overthrow this history, just like those people who had questioned the existence of the sovereigns. After the scab fell and the pain was forgotten, people would forget the heroes. But while that scab was still there, Long Chen was sure that they would remember what respect and gratitude were. After such a fierce battle, he was confident that the people of the martial heaven continent wouldn't be fighting amongst themselves, at least for a short time. With those memories and the threat of the fierce beasts outside, they would cherish their current life. Furthermore, he saw that everyone felt great respect for his parents and sister. Their safety was something he didn't need to worry about. Suddenly, the vision faded and Long Chen slowly opened his eyes. His soul returned to home, to reality. For a moment, Long Chen was lost in his emotions. Other than his father and mother, he also saw many familiar faces. There was Xia Yuluo, Xia Yunsong, Ouyang Chuyu, Shui Wuhan. He even saw Xiao Hua from back then amongst the crowd. However, it was just a glance. He didn't even have a chance to get a closer look before his vision ended. Senior, I really have to thank you. In the future, no matter what you need, I will definitely repay you for this great favor, swore Long Chen. This favor was truly huge. The current you is still too weak. If you want to repay me, work hard to survive. Stop doing things that will get you killed. Then you might have a chance to help me. The dragon expert sighed. All 9-star heirs were like that. Junior will follow your instructions, said Long Chen. Speaking of which, Senior, do you know where my biological father and mother are? Now that Long Chen was in the immortal world, the pressing thing was to find his biological parents' whereabouts. Your father and mother are still alive, so don't worry about that. But their lives aren't going as they wish. In your current state, knowing where they are is meaningless. You are too weak and you can't help anyone. You should focus on yourself. Other than that, don't try to find that person who keeps sending you messages. His situation is even worse, and he can't help you. The owner of that voice wanted you to awaken, but due to multiple reasons, it has always ended in failure. In the end, that girl still used her own life to make you awaken, said the dragon expert. Senior, you must know about Qingxuan's reincarnation. Can you tell me where she is? Asked Long Chen. She went through 1,000 reincarnations to awaken you. Your fates are tightly bound. Even if you don't search for her, she will appear before you. However, after accomplishing the mission behind her reincarnations, the power of that reincarnation will dissipate. She will no longer have those memories. That is why she was very afraid. She was afraid of her next reincarnation marrying someone else. The love of 1,000 reincarnations would vanish just like that. Even the dragon expert sighed here. It was also affected by the pill fairy's deep emotions. Hearing that he would sooner or later run into Yu Qingxian and that his parents were also still alive, Long Chen felt much steadier. He also grew more confident. I'll have to make sure to live happily starting today. That's the only way to live up to their sacrifices. Long Chen took a deep breath and clenched his fists. So many people had died in that battle. Their lives, their hopes were now with him, so he couldn't wallow in this failure. He had to live even better and cultivate even harder for them. Long Chen slowly formed hand seals, but he quickly sighed. As expected, in the immortal world, the martial heaven continent's magical arts were useless. The spiritual chi of the martial heaven continent was a completely different concept from the immortal spiritual energy of this place. Here, he was like someone who didn't even know cultivation. Originally, Long Chen had been planning on finding Long Outyen's location after coming to the immortal world. The black soil pill that Long Outyen had swallowed not only caused him immense pain, but it also left a brand of the black soil's aura on him. That was why Long Chen let him off. It was to find where he went afterward and conveniently come clean them up as well, while also getting a step in the direction of finding his parents. The aura of the immortal world was completely different from the martial heaven continent, so Long Chen would have to learn how to control this immortal spiritual chi first. No matter how big the immortal world was, as long as he kept sensing, he would sooner or later find in which direction the brand was. Then he would be able to find Long Outyen. Alright, it seems that you've regained your confidence. I'll leave now. Be careful. Remember, 9-star heirs cannot see the light of day. Once you are exposed, you will find countless people hunting you down. Your purgatory eyes might have been temporarily sealed, and you've also changed your 9 stars so they're no longer completely the same, but it would be best if you didn't expose it much. The High Firmament Academy has countless ancient tomes and immortal arts. It is the oldest academy within the 100 domains and 1,000 prefectures. I don't need to tell you what to do, right? Said the dragon expert. Yes. It would be best if I can find some cultivation techniques that look similar to the 9-star Hegemon body art to mask it. Long Chen nodded. There was no way he could avoid fighting in the immortal world. If he couldn't use his divine ring or battle armor, he would be killed. Thus, the best method was to find other cultivation techniques and skills that would cover his skills up, making people think that they looked similar but weren't the same. It's good that you understand. The path is beneath your feet. The rest is up to you. After saying that, the dragon expert's aura vanished. Ah, Senior, you forgot to tell me where Ziyen went, exclaimed Long Chen suddenly. Regretfully, the dragon expert's aura had already vanished. It didn't reply. Fine. If everyone else was set up, I suppose Ziyen wouldn't be left behind. Senior must have some reason for not telling me. Brothers, just wait for me. The name of Master Long San will resound through the immortal world. Long Chen looked to the sun and swore his oath. He then turned around and walked back toward the long line. Oh, isn't that the fellow who cried when he failed? Why is he back? He's smiling? And looks confident? Did he really go crazy? Who knows? There are always a few people like that with every test. I'm used to it, said someone disdainfully. It seemed that this speaker didn't realize that his words were telling everyone that he had failed many times. The line was incredibly long. On the martial heaven continent, he would arrive at the end of the continent with a single step, but here, it took him an hour of walking. When his pace was fast, he began to pant slightly. His chest hurt, forcing him to slow down. He had just ascended to the immortal world, so his mortal aura had yet to transform. Absorbing too much immortal spiritual chi at once would hurt. However, he quickly saw a large tablet up ahead. It was a jade tablet around 10 meters tall, and light flowed on top of it. He then pressed his hand against this tablet. This was the jade tablet for the High Firmament Academy's disciple recruitment. Just by pressing a hand against it, one would obtain all the information needed. When Long Chen had asked someone about how to register, that person had told him of the jade tablet's existence. When his hand pressed against it, a large amount of information flooded into his head. Countless characters also branded themselves in his mind. They're actually immortal characters, and they're teaching us these for free? Long Chen was startled. On the martial heaven continent, such a spiritual inheritance cost quite a bit of energy to maintain, so only important inheritances were transmitted this way. Such an inheritance cost a fortune for ordinary sections. However, here it was like it was free. Not only did he get the information he needed, but the basic immortal runes were also part of this inheritance. There was actually quite a large difference between these immortal characters and the immortal characters known on the martial heaven continent. Since every immortal character possessed some of the charms of the immortal Tao, upon knowing such a large number of immortal characters, Long Chen even felt his body get more used to the surrounding immortal spiritual qi. It was magical. However, these immortal characters were all basic, which was why they were free. They only taught a bit about the High Firmament Academy's history, foundation, inheritance, and rules. This general information was very detailed only when it came to the registration process for disciples. This place held trials once every 30 years, and anyone under 300 years and whose cultivation base had reached the peak of mortal transcendence could participate. Long Chen didn't know what this mortal transcendence realm was exactly, but seeing that most of the people in line were at the 13th heaven stage of heaven merging, he supposed that the heaven merging realm of the martial heaven continent was equivalent to the mortal transcendence realm here. Going from mortal to immortal, ascending to a higher plane. That should be the case. The immortal spiritual qi here is probably enough to directly blow apart a nether passage expert, thought Long Chen. Age of 300 years as a cutoff for disciple recruitment was unheard of on the martial heaven continent, but here in the immortal world, it seemed to be normal. Of course, on the martial heaven continent, the heaven merging realm was the absolute apex. Here, it was only the minimum requirement for the trial. That was only natural. The trials of the High Firmament Academy included dozens of examinations, some for certain levels and some more for specific specialties. It was only after going through all these examinations could one qualify to become a disciple of the High Firmament Academy. It could be said that the disciple selection was very strict. Long Chen looked back at the endless line and the slow rate of advancement, and he got nervous inside. It seemed that the waiting would be a bit long. "Excuse me, pretty lady, may I ask how long you've been waiting here?" asked Long Chen to a gentle-looking woman in line. Perhaps it was because his tongue was sweet that she happily replied, "I've been in line for 3 months. I estimate that it'll be my turn around half a month from now." "Little brother, you're an ascender from the lower world, right? You probably don't have any immortal crystals. Do you want big sister to lend you some? You can register that way." This woman was quite kind. Long Chen's heavy mortal air showed her that he probably wasn't born in the immortal world. Those who ascended from the lower world were particularly poor because the things that they brought with them were all worthless here. Seeing his shabby and broken robes, the woman couldn't help feeling pity for Long Chen. Hearing the woman's words, quite a few people side-eyed Long Chen. It had to be known that the fee for this trial was not cheap. This woman was actually willing to lend him such a large sum. "Many thanks, big sister. I am just curious though. I'm still not sure if I'm going to participate in these trials," said Long Chen gratefully. "There's no need for you to participate. It's not like you can pass. Don't waste those immortal crystals," sneered someone. It was unknown if this person was just jealous or if he fundamentally looked down on ascenders, but he seemed to truly dislike Long Chen. "You." The woman's expression sank slightly. For her to be willing to help Long Chen was a matter between the two of them. Hence, for someone to interject themselves into her matters angered her. "Big sister, it's all right. For you to quibble with trash like this is a loss of your status." Long Chen waved it off. He had seen far too many idiots like this to bother with them. The wait time of 3.5 months was too long, and he didn't have that much time to waste. He was thinking of another way to directly enter the academy. "Who are you calling trash, you lower world degenerate?" cursed that person angrily. Long Chen instinctively, without any hesitation, slapped that guy in the face. As a result, half of that guy's face exploded and blood splashed. He then tumbled back, half his teeth flying through the air. The surrounding people jumped. Long Chen looked worn down and weak, but he was quite vicious. The immortal world's people really are different. I was actually worried I would kill him. Long Chen himself jumped. This slap was instinctual, so he only reacted enough to pull back half the force. Despite that, its power was astonishing enough to explode half of this guy's face. Fortunately, his skull was intact. This fact showed Long Chen that those of the immortal world truly had tough physical bodies. "You." That person furiously shot up. However, before he could charge at Long Chen, he once more spun and fell, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Long Chen's slap had caused internal injuries to him. As soon as he tried to use his power, a rush of blood came over him, almost knocking him unconscious. Who is making a ruckus here? At this time, 2 disciples of the High Firmament Academy in silver armor walked over. Upon seeing them, Long Chen's heart shook. These 2 possessed powerful auras, not at all inferior to that middle-aged 9 underworld hunter. Just the disciples guarding the gate were already so powerful. The High Firmament Academy was truly strong. I was asking some questions. After that, he cursed me and I slapped him. Long Chen shrugged and reported what had happened. The disciple who had spoken frowned slightly, looking from Long Chen to the other man. After that, he coldly said, "Both of you are stripped of your qualifications to attend the trials." "That's not fair," howled that person furiously. "It really is unfair. He was clearly the one picking a fight. This junior brother is innocent. You shouldn't strip him of his right to participate." The woman spoke up for Long Chen's innocence. On the other hand, Long Chen shrugged. "No, I feel like this is correct. Without rules, there is no order. Your way of handling this matter is fair, right, just, effective, and precise. Hehe, in any case, I wasn't planning on participating." Long Chen turned and left, leaving the other person dumbfounded. Long Chen might not mind, but this guy had been in line for 3 months. He had passed through many checkpoints to have this chance for a great future, so how could he end up buried here? "Big brother, I am Pan Mingxiong. You don't know me, but you definitely know my big brother. He is Pan Minjiang, a core disciple." He cried out. The Academy's disciples were also split into different tiers: probationary disciples, outer disciples, inner disciples, and core disciples. These people here were only in line for a chance to be probationary disciples. As for core disciples, they were elites picked out from millions and millions of geniuses. Their position was very high. This Pan Mingxiong only felt superior to the others in line because of the existence of his big brother in the academy. Because of it, he had ended up acting quite disdainful to others in line during this time, causing them to dislike him. However, it was forbidden to make a fuss in line, or, as seen here, they would lose their right to participate. Thus, no one had bothered with him. Unfortunately for him, he had ended up provoking Long Chen. Not only was he slapped in the face, but his qualifications were also stripped away. Hence, he hastily reported the name of his big brother. "Pan Minjiang? The one ranked 47th on the rankings?" asked the disciple, looking Pan Mingxiong up and down. Yes, that's him," cried out Pan Mingxiong, ecstatic to hear that this disciple really knew of his brother. "And?" asked the disciple. "And what?" asked Pan Mingxiong. "What does that have to do with you being stripped of your qualifications?" asked the disciple indifferently. "You." Pan Mingxiong's dumbfounded expression almost caused people to laugh. "Rules are rules." That little one said it well. Without rules, there is no order. He is nothing more than an ascender from a lower world who doesn't even know how great the name of the High Firmament Academy is. Are you telling me that you are inferior to him? Do you think the rules of the High Firmament Academy will be bent for a single disciple on the mortal rankings? You really are naive. I can't be bothered to say anything more to you. Hurry up and scram, sneered the disciple. Fine. Pan Mingxiong clenched his teeth and furiously walked away. However, he seemed rather fearless. It looked as if he was planning on getting revenge. How satisfying. I had to deal with Pan Minjiang's arrogance in the academy before, and now I finally get to vent, laughed the disciple to his companion. It's too bad that he didn't resist. Otherwise, you would have been in the clear to give him a beating, said his companion. He's probably leaving to use some of his connections. But even if I can't drive him away, I can make him get in line again. How delightful, huh? Those two disciples left while laughing, leaving the ones in line with strange expressions. Long Chen was unaware of what happened afterward as he had headed to a different line. Other than the giant line, there was another line not far from it. But this line only had a few people. That was the line for the workers. The High Firmament Academy had many disciples, and those disciples needed a large amount of manpower to look after. The lowest level matters required a large number of workers. However, even for the workers, the requirements were quite high. There was a 90% rate of washing out. Long Chen saw many people shaking their heads and leaving this place when he arrived. In front of Long Chen was an interviewer who expressionlessly looked at him. Sensing Long Chen's mortal aura, the interviewer frowned. "How old are you?" "I've forgotten," said Long Chen. "Are you dumb? You don't even remember your own age." "Whatever, there's a bone age tester right there. Go test yourself," said the interviewer. His initial reaction was anger, but that anger was stifled by a single look from Long Chen. In that instant he almost jumped out of his skin. He felt like he could see endless corpses and seas of blood within Long Chen's eyes. That terror caused him to change his tone. "Many thanks." Long Chen walked over, warning himself not to get angry. Ever since the purgatory eyes awakened, he felt that his control over himself had worsened. He had just slapped Pan Mingxiong, and now being scolded caused his anger to surge. He almost punched the interviewer in the face. Long Chen didn't know if this was due to the purgatory eyes, but he almost had an urge to kill him just like that. Fortunately, this fellow was smart enough not to make things harder on him, or if he lost control, let alone joining the High Firmament Academy, he would probably be hunted down by the Academy and killed. Bone age 31. Long Chen was startled. It seemed that this bone age was a few years younger than on the martial heaven continent. Was the time of a year different in the immortal world? Long Chen quickly passed through some more examinations, following the line. However, all of a sudden, his stomach began to rumble. After arriving at the immortal world, his body felt odd. Now his stomach was heaving, so he hastily asked where the toilet was. He rushed over there, barely making it before the floodgates were opened. After that, an overwhelming stench almost made him faint. "Why is it so smelly?" Long Chen quickly realized that this was the mortal transcendence realm. The goal was to force out the mortal aura within the body. When it had nowhere else to go, this mortal aura was expelled in this fashion. However, ever since he had reached the Xiantian realm, he had never had to go to the toilet. He wasn't used to it. After resolving his predicament, the refreshed Long Chen walked back out. However, just as he was about to turn a corner, he paused. He heard two people talking. "There are only 2 more openings for workers. Third brother's son wants 1 spot, so I'm leaving the other one to you. Get as much as you can out of it," whispered one of them. "I understand." The other's voice came out raspy, as if his throat was being choked by the other. Long Chen was startled. There were over 80 people going through the examinations right now, but there were only 2 spots left, with 1 being reserved. As for the other, it was given to whoever could bribe them the most. This place was surprisingly corrupt. The 2 of them vanished after talking. However, Long Chen was sure one of them was a core examiner. After that, Long Chen joined the line once more, and it quickly reached his turn. His examiner was a square-faced middle-aged man. Without even looking at Long Chen, he directly asked, "Name?" It was the raspy voice man. Hence, Long Chen instantly understood. Just now, the person who had been accepted was the one whose spot was reserved. Now there was only 1 spot left. Long Chen. Long Chen's eyes roved around, and he spotted a certain thing on the table that made him smile slightly. That person finally looked at Long Chen. Seeing Long Chen's shabby clothes, he didn't bother concealing his disdain and impatience. "I've looked through your qualifications. You're too old." He directly rejected Long Chen. Too old? Was he sure that he wasn't blind? The other person who had just passed was in his 80s. Long Chen almost laughed. "All right." Long Chen nodded and turned to leave. But as he turned, his sleeve accidentally knocked over an elegant teapot on the table. "Careful!" The examiner shouted, but the teapot and a few cups shattered. He furiously shouted, "You're paying for that. I don't have any money. Could you deduct it from my salary?" asked Long Chen helplessly. Just like that, Long Chen became a probationary worker and received his status plate hung on his waist. The new workers had 3 days to learn their duties and rights. With Long Chen's powerful spiritual strength, he memorized everything in just an hour. Normally, every new worker was given 9 immortal crystals as a benefit, and it could be considered a gift to the newcomers. But Long Chen didn't receive them because they were deducted from his salary. Long Chen's vision was quite good to see that the teapot was not bad, resulting in him successfully entering. Workers were only able to do some unskilled labor within the academy. Furthermore, their range was very limited. After understanding the basics, Long Chen quickly found his opportunity. The workers here had a chance to take an exam to advance every 5 years. After passing this exam, they could obtain an even higher worker status and would then be qualified to participate in the disciple trials. If they made any outstanding achievements, they could become official disciples of the academy. The chance has come. Long Chen found where the examination was and walked in. Over 10 people immediately shot up and stared at him nervously. He was confused at first but quickly realized that his robes were different from their worker clothes. Based on their nervous expressions, they probably thought that he was the examiner. Sit. No need to be nervous. Long Chen waved his hand. Those people instantly sat, but their nerves were as tense as ever. Long Chen said, "I'm not the main examiner but the assistant examiner. The main examiner suddenly had something coming up and told me to tell you that today's examination is temporarily cancelled. The exam can be made up next time. We will inform everyone of the details later." Those people instantly relaxed. After that, they bowed to Long Chen and walked out. Once they were gone, Long Chen immediately sat in their place. Less than an incense stick's worth of time later, a slightly chubby middle-aged man walked in. Seeing that there was only one person present, he was confused. "Why is it just you?" "I don't know either." Long Chen shook his head. The examiner looked around and then said, "Since it's just you, let's get right to it. I'm sure you were told the rules in advance." "Yes." Long Chen nodded. Even though he didn't actually know them, it didn't matter. "Good. You're smart, unlike those fools who are short-sighted. Although you lose out on 10 years of salary, you'll get a chance to become a true disciple. This chance can allow you to soar high and far, and this chance is just around the corner for you. Little fellow, I look favorably upon you," praised the examiner. At this moment, Long Chen realized why those people who had left looked as if they were relieved of a heavy burden. It seemed that this entire exam was a con. 10 years of salary. In other words, just for this single chance, they would need to work for free for 10 years. It went without saying that these 10 years of salary would enter this fatty's pocket. These workers were already old and their talent was only average. What kind of joke was that? If their talent really was good, who would be a worker? Without any talent, how could they pass the trials and become a disciple? It was a giant joke. The guilt he had felt due to tricking those people vanished. Now it seemed that he had saved them. Presumably, those people were forced to take this exam whether they wanted to or not. Those that this fatty set his gaze on were all unlucky. Once they became the higher-level workers, 10 years of their salary would enter his pocket. It was no wonder he was so fat. He was a master of eating other people's profit. Long Chen didn't know how many years it had been since he had encountered this kind of dark battle at the bottom class. Upon looking at this, it seemed that these battles were even more sinister and shameless than the battles of the cultivation world. Exactly. Their vision is short, and they don't understand the importance of opportunities. Those are things that money can't buy, chortled Long Chen. That's right. They are fools. Little brother, you're the smartest. Let's go. I'll handle the procedure for you. Although the next 10 years of your salary will be mine, don't worry, I won't mistreat you. If your pockets are tight, just tell me. I'll offer you the cheapest interest, promised the fatty. Inside, Long Chen paid his respects to every woman in this fatty's family. Not only did he con others, but he was even a loan shark. Once you borrowed money from him, would you ever be able to pay it within your lifetime? This fatty's guts were quite big. As soon as Long Chen asked, he directly lent Long Chen 2,000 immortal crystals. High-level workers could obtain 100 immortal crystals a month, but this fatty directly lent him 2,000. As for the so-called interest, Long Chen directly said that he trusted the fatty, delighting him. What he didn't know was that the money that Master Long San borrowed was never repaid. The fatty even enthusiastically treated Long Chen, letting him quickly receive the jade plate for the trial. The rest of the time was just waiting for the trial. 3 days later, Long Chen finally entered the place where the trial was being taken. When he arrived, he was completely dumbfounded. Each person had a small table with a scroll on it, and there were various questions on the crystal wall. Upon seeing those questions, Long Chen's head buzzed. All his previous confidence evaporated. These questions were about the times of ancient battles, the locations of wars between gods and devils, and amazing figures that had changed the battlefield. Long Chen didn't know the answer to even one of them. These were all things that had happened in the immortal world, so how could he possibly know? Cheating. You used spiritual strength to peep at others. You're disqualified. A bark rang out, and an examiner picked up a participant like a chicken and tossed him out. Long Chen began to sweat. He had just been planning on using his spiritual strength to stealthily check other people's answers. But someone was caught before him. There were all kinds of exam questions. History, geography, music, forging, formations, cultivation, alchemy, soul arts, healing, and dozens of other studies. The ones that made Long Chen feel the most speechless were the ones like divination, carving, and feng shui. He felt like he was going to go crazy. Long Chen ended up handing over blank responses for most of the questions. He was only able to write a bit for cultivation, forging, and formations. But fortunately, he was confident in getting full marks on the alchemy section. Once the examination was over, Long Chen returned to await news. Even as a high-level worker, his range of movement was limited, so he still couldn't enter the true academy. However, Long Chen was already quite satisfied. This path of his was already much faster than others. Those people were still in line, while he had finished the examination. He also had 2,000 immortal crystals. Even high-level workers couldn't enter the academy to buy and sell things, so they could only buy things from the fatty. It went without saying that the fatty would increase the price. However, that was fine. Long Chen directly bought 3 mortal ascension pills from him to force out his mortal aura. Only once his mortal aura was forced out would the immortal spiritual qi be able to enter his body without impediment. 3 mortal ascension pills cost Long Chen all his immortal crystals, so Long Chen borrowed some more from the fatty. In the end, he borrowed from him 5 times to buy 13 mortal ascension pills. That forced out less than half of his mortal aura. After that, the fatty refused to lend him any further money. Perhaps he thought that the money that Long Chen owed him would already take 300 years of work to repay, so any further lending would be too dangerous. On this day, the results of the examination were posted, so Long Chen hastily rushed to check the results. I failed. Long Chen couldn't find his name on the public announcement, so his heart fell. But after that his anger rose. Everything else might have been a failure, but the alchemy section had to have been flawless. He then checked and rechecked the list of those who passed but still didn't see his name. Those whose names weren't on the list had failed. He couldn't accept this. The fatty seemed to have long since known this result and laughed. That's enough. A failure is a failure. Go back and get to work. Remember to work hard on repaying your debt, ha-dash. Hearing this, Long Chen grabbed his throat, his eyes scarlet. Shut the hell up. Another word and I'll strip your life away. This damn fatty actually laughed at his misfortune. Long Chen truly had an urge to kill him. His actions drew countless gazes. It had to be known that when the results were announced, a sea of people would gather. Hence, he naturally drew a great deal of attention. Who is Long Chen? Suddenly, a group of people came over from a distance, wearing the robes of the people in charge of the examinations. The crowd immediately parted to create a path for them. I'm Long Chen. Long Chen tossed the fatty aside and looked at those examiners. You only got 17 points in total. Of 75 sections, you left 71 blank, said the examiner. The crowd stared in shock at Long Chen. Had this fellow only come to cause trouble? The 75 sections were all worth 10 points in total, for a total of 750 points. 300 points was a passing grade. 500 was outstanding, and 600 was particularly distinguished. There were plenty of outstanding candidates throughout history, but it seemed that there had never been someone to only score 17 points. Had this fellow only come to insult the High Firmament Academy? However, you scored full marks in the alchemy section. According to the Academy's rules, you can undergo a second examination in the Pill Institute. Are you prepared? Asked the examiner. An uproar erupted when he said this. Full marks in alchemy? That was the most difficult exam in the High Firmament Academy. Full marks in this section was unprecedented in the Academy's history. Even distinguished disciples from alchemy families mostly failed this section. For most people, their score in the alchemy section was 0. Since that was the case, this fellow seemed to excel in breaking historical precedents. There's nothing to prepare. We can go now. Long Chen kicked the fatty beside him. Damn fatty, just wait. Once I have time, I'll make you pay for your corruption, hiding from the top and cheating the bottom of their salaries. The examiner coldly said, no need to wait. Someone, come and arrest him. It's not just one person reporting his corruption. We'll do a proper investigation. No, I'm being framed. He owes me money. He's framing me. The fatty was dragged away by 2 disciples, howling like a pig being slaughtered, but no one acknowledged him. After that, one of the disciples impatiently hit the back of his head, knocking him unconscious. He was then dragged away like a dead pig. Under everyone's gazes, Long Chen left with the examiner. Long Chen was surprised to be led to the top of a large mountain where a giant eagle was waiting for them. After that, they stepped onto its back and flew off. Are you curious why we aren't using a transportation formation? Asked the examiner upon seeing Long Chen staring oddly. Long Chen nodded. Considering how big the High Firmament Academy was, transportation formations would be more convenient. Disciples below the Divine Flame realm are not permitted to use transportation formations because the power of the immortal world will condense when they are activated. Those who haven't ignited their Divine Flame will be crushed by that power. For an ascender like you whose mortal chi has yet to regress, a transportation formation will kill you before it's even activated, explained the examiner. Long Chen didn't expect these icy examiners to actually be so kind as to explain these things to him. The Pill Institute is a particularly special place within the High Firmament Academy. Youngsters, I hope you'll cherish this chance. You should know that countless alchemists want to join us, only to be rejected, said the examiner. I understand. Many thanks for the reminder, said Long Chen. Now he understood that the reason why the examiner was so kind was related to the Pill Institute. It seemed that even in the immortal world, alchemists still possessed a high status. No one was willing to offend an alchemist. By treating Long Chen a bit better now, on the off chance that he could really join the Pill Institute, it would be easier for him to ask Long Chen for a favor in the future. They flew on the back of the giant eagle for a full 6 hours. Long Chen estimated that this academy was probably even bigger than the entire Martial Heaven continent. It was truly exaggerated. At this moment, they finally began to descend to a courtyard. However, while other places were filled with people, this place was empty of a single soul. We've arrived. You can enter yourself. Good luck, said the examiner. The eagle then flew away on its own, while the examiner went into a nearby transportation formation. Pill Institute. 2 large characters were carved into the signboard of this building. The lines were strong and bold, rigid, and yet they also possessed a certain grace. Every stroke contained the charm of the Tao. It was as if this simple carving contained the essence of heaven and earth. Without being aware of it, Long Chen became enthralled. He was drawn deep into those 2 characters. However, the sound of a broom sweeping the ground drew Long Chen out of those 2 characters. At some point, a skinny old man had appeared up ahead. He was sweeping the path. Only then did Long Chen become aware that he had to report his arrival. He hastily rushed over, only to find that this place was too big. The examiner also hadn't told him where to go. Hence, he asked the sweeper, "Senior, sorry to bother you, But do you know where to register for the Pill Institute's examination? The elder was completely focused on his sweeping. It seemed that he didn't even notice Long Chen's existence until Long Chen spoke to him. After that, he slowly raised his head and looked at him. When Long Chen saw his face, or more accurately his eyes, he jumped. Those eyes were filled with lines, like countless runes revolving. It was only once his eyes focused that his pupils appeared. That was a bizarre scene. Fortunately, this elder looked kind, so it didn't feel so bad. Senior? I'm not fit for such an address from this young friend. You are all the future pillars of the Pill Institute, while I am just a worker sweeping the floor. You can just call me an old fellow, said the elder. Senior is too humble. May I ask where the exam venue is? I came to report in, and I don't want to hold them up, said Long Chen. Go straight and turn right at the second intersection. Child, is your temper good? Asked the elder suddenly. This sudden question caught him off guard. He said, It's all right. The elder nodded and didn't say anything else. He continued sweeping. Long Chen was befuddled by the question, but after saying thanks, he walked into the institute. Long Chen followed the path, and it took a long time of walking before he finally reached the registration area. However, when he arrived, 2 disciples in white robes with a pill furnace's mark on their sleeves were impatiently glaring at him. Why are you so slow? Do you realize that you're over 2 hours late? Do you not know how to follow any rules? A wave of obscure anger instantly rose within Long Chen. He coldly said, No one told me the time, so how can I be late? You dare to argue? The disciple was infuriated. Try to pressure me any further and I won't just argue. I'll slap that mouth off. If you don't believe me, you can try it. Long Chen's expression sank. What damn academy was this? Was it an academy for idiots? If this was the martial heaven continent, he'd have long since slapped this person to death. Ever since he entered this academy, he had encountered countless nonsensical blockades. Long Chen didn't feel like he had provoked anyone, yet there were always people throwing themselves at him to get in his way. Could it be that he was doomed to be a magnet for trouble in the immortal world as well? Courting death. The 2 disciples were immediately infuriated. It had to be known that any newcomers who came here were all proper and respectful. What newcomer dared to speak to them so fearlessly? What is causing so much noise? A stern voice suddenly came from the room behind them. Brat, just wait. I'll put you in your place later. Take this and scram to your class, said that disciple fiercely, tossing Long Chen a tile. Long Chen received the tile and sneered, I'm not a good person. If you're not in a rush to reincarnate, don't provoke me. As Long Chen walked into the classroom, those 2 disciples were left with dark expressions. They had never encountered such an arrogant newcomer. On the other hand, Long Chen's expression was also not very good. Perhaps he had been too much of a hegemon in the martial heaven continent for too long, and by the end, no one on the continent dared to speak to him like this. Hence, he had a feeling like he had suddenly fallen from a dragon to a dog. There was a stone door covered in runes up ahead. When Long Chen stood in front of it, the tile quivered slightly, and the door slowly opened. He arrived inside a classroom. There were tables with thousands of young disciples sitting at them. When Long Chen arrived, everyone's gazes fell on him. Of course, that included the teacher who was seated on top of a platform. The elder was slim and stiff, with very thin lips that curved upward at the corners of his mouth. The elder was the teacher in charge of the newcomers. Although these newcomers had passed the initial exam, they were still not counted as outer disciples of the Pill Institute. They had to go through some further examinations and observations. If their results were satisfactory, they would become outer disciples. You are Long Chen? The elder looked at Long Chen and took out something. He was looking at Long Chen as if verifying something. I am. Long Chen nodded. Behave yourself. It's a yes or no question, barked the elder. Long Chen almost passed out from anger. Did the immortal world's people have something wrong with their heads? It was just an extra word. Or was this elder intentionally causing trouble for him? The people from the lower world are all unbearably arrogant while being weak. They're the worst to oversee, but since this is the High Firmament Academy, and the Pill Institute is the most special institute within the academy, it would be best if all of you were more clever. I don't care if you're from the immortal world or an ascender. Now that you're here, all the luck of your lifetime has been used up. Behave yourself and don't ruin your future prospects. The elder finally retracted his gaze from Long Chen and swept his gaze over everyone, clearly using Long Chen as a teaching tool, an example of what not to do. Flames of rage burned in Long Chen's heart. Could it be that his bad luck was going to continue to plague him in the immortal world as well? Why was it that he always encountered fools? Was this a case of idiots being able to reproduce limitlessly? This class has been waiting 2 hours for you. Apologize to everyone, demanded the elder. Are you sure your head isn't full of shit? Why is it that the only thing that comes out of your mouth is crap? Long Chen stared at the elder with an inconceivable expression. The other disciples in the room gasped, staring in horror at him. How could he say such a thing? Did he not care about his future? You. The elder furiously leaped up. What you? If you use your finger to point at me, I'll break that dog paw of yours. Did your parents not teach you that it's rude to point at others? When I was sent here, not one person told me there was an arranged time. Since no one told me there was a set time, how can I be late? What does you waiting 2 hours have to do with me? You grew up looking like a dog, and now your mouth spouts dog shit, cursed Long Chen. His endurance reached its limit. He would rather not join the High Firmament Academy if he had to suffer this bullshit. If this continued, let alone cultivating, he would probably directly die of rage. You're stripped of your qualifications? Get out of here, shouted the elder. Stripped of my qualifications? You were the ones who called me here. Now you think you can tell me to leave as well? What, do you think I'm a dancing monkey for you? If you want me to leave, then fine. Give me a proper explanation, sneered Long Chen. A reason? You arrived late, disturbed the class, and insulted the teacher. Any of these reasons are enough, shouted the elder. Idiot. No one told me the time, so saying I'm late doesn't hold water. Disturbing the class. You are the one shouting and spouting crap. I'm just arguing for what is right. As for insulting the teacher? Do I have to accept being insulted by you just because you're the teacher? You were the one who caused the trouble for no reason, blaming me, and then telling me to apologize for this. I'm not late, so why should I apologize? You were the one who insulted me first, so why can't I fight back? If that truly is the logic of the High Firmament Academy, then have the higher-ups come out and admit that these are the rules. I'll immediately leave if that's the case. Decision-makers of the High Firmament Academy, come out and let's have a debate. Long Chen's final sentence was a roar containing his fury and terrifying killing intent. It shook people's ears and was transmitted far and wide. Although this place was the immortal world and his voice couldn't go too far, it was still frightening. Those 2 disciples outside the classroom who were thinking of how to put Long Chen in his place later almost jumped out of their skin. This person was notified a bit late and was not told a time. He cannot be said to be late. Let the class continue. A voice suddenly rang out in everyone's ears. The elder's expression immediately changed. Long Chen's roar had finally drawn the attention of the higher-ups. However, it seemed that the higher-ups of the Pill Institute didn't wish to reveal themselves. They only sent word. However, their word was like an imperial edict. The teacher's expression grew extremely ugly. Take your seat, said the elder coldly. He could no longer stick to the topic of Long Chen being late to make things hard on him, so the elder could only continue the lesson. As a result, Long Chen walked to his seat in front of everyone's shocked gazes. There was only one seat available, so it was easy to find. Amongst the disciples, there were quite a few who cast admiring gazes at Long Chen. He actually dared to curse a teacher while leaving the teacher helpless to retaliate. That courage wasn't something that everyone had. However, there were also those looking down on him, not having a good opinion of his actions. By offending a teacher, he would sooner or later face his retribution. As for the majority of the disciples, they wisely chose to keep their eyes to the front, as if nothing had happened, afraid that any reaction or gaze on their part could draw the ire of the teacher. We can start the lesson now. Although you've passed the initial exam, it doesn't mean that you're qualified to study the Pill Dao within the Pill Institute. These classes will allow us to observe how well you learn, and if you can pass, you will be considered outer disciples of the Pill Institute. Thus, this period is extremely important to you. I don't care what status or position you have in the outside world. Your fame doesn't matter here. Here, you're just a student. As a student, you should have a humble, learning attitude, said the elder. He clearly looked at Long Chen when he said this. However, Long Chen didn't even look at him. This high Firmament Academy had disappointed him at all turns. Hence, he was currently pondering whether or not he should leave this place and find somewhere to roam. Perhaps he could first find a way to search for his parents. The elder's lesson continued, with him lecturing on what it meant to be a student and the proper attitude. It was only after that long lecture that he began to speak of the basics of alchemy. Long Chen almost laughed when he heard this. These basics really were basics. This elder even piled in a bunch about the composition and nature of pill flames and pill furnaces. Someone who could pass the exam and come here had to already be an alchemist. It was like someone was telling adults that they had to eat with their mouths, breathe with their noses, don't touch hot metal with their hands. Long Chen, what are you smiling about? Shouted the elder. Everyone turned to Long Chen and he was startled. Was his smile really so obvious? It's nothing. I just suddenly thought of something funny, said Long Chen, not bothering to lie. Do you think that I'm talking nonsense? Tell me, what does it mean to refine pills? Questioned the elder. Refining pills is a spiritual process of extracting medicinal essence and merging it with the power of the pill flame, spiritual strength, and the heavenly Daos, answered Long Chen casually. Ha! You don't even know the basics. You really are a frog at the bottom of a well. Who can tell him what it means to refine pills? A student stood and proudly said, Disciple knows. The Tao of alchemy contains all manifestations. It is recorded that an alchemist merges heaven and earth, the 10,000 Daos, and the 10 planar worlds. Precious medicines must be treated in accordance with 5 natures: cold, cool, neutral, warm, and hot. The transformations of the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, earth. That person seemed to be reading from a book and spent almost an hour talking, his spittle flying. It went without saying that his ability to recite things that he had memorized was very good. Excellent. You can sit. The elder nodded, looking at him favorably. After that, the disciple glanced at Long Chen mockingly. It seemed he had a natural disdain for Long Chen as an ascender. The elder turned to Long Chen and smiled coldly. I didn't see your exam paper, so I don't know how you got full points. But you don't even have the basics memorized. It seems that even the seniors of the Pill Institute can be negligent. The elder was clearly saying that Long Chen had only gotten full marks on his exam due to carelessness on the part of the examiners. That was how he had muddled his way in. Let me ask you another question. How many techniques are there to change the pill flame? Asked the elder. There are countless kinds, said Long Chen expressionlessly. He already knew this elder's goal. What a joke. Who can tell him how many kinds there are? Snorted the elder. There are 3,916 kinds. Someone who can control over 100 kinds can become a teacher, answered another disciple. Did you hear that? You don't know anything, yet you still act so arrogant. Who gave you such courage? Sneered the elder. I don't know about courage, but it should be my turn to ask you something. How many precious medicines exist in the whole world? Asked Long Chen. 87,634,361, answered the elder without any hesitation. Using such a childish question against me, I really am worried about your intelligence. Do you think everyone is as ignorant as you? Quite a few people laughed. It seemed that Long Chen's question truly was ignorant. All of them could easily answer this question. What is this in my hand? Long Chen took out a precious medicine and tossed it to the elder. The elder was confused and then sneered. This is some trash from the lower plane. It cannot enter the records of the immortal world. If you don't know, then you don't know. I said all precious medicines in the whole world, not just the immortal world. You couldn't even understand the question but blurted out some nonsense. Are you sure you even have a brain? The disciples were caught off guard. That truly was the case. Long Chen had said the whole world. That naturally included the immortal world and the mortal world. I come from the lower plane. I am a frog at the bottom of a well. But what about you? How do you know that there aren't greater worlds beyond the immortal world? You mocking me is a pot calling the kettle black. You use your limited learning to judge this limitless world. That is foolish in and of itself. The teacher guides the way into the Tao. How is a narrow-hearted petty little person like you fit to be a teacher? Long Chen stood after finishing talking. What are you doing? Demanded the teacher furiously. The turbid qi in my body is too strong. My 5 inner organs are circulating, pushing my blood qi down. There is an outer force quickening the circulation. Impurities have gathered and are preparing to break out, said Long Chen, gesturing as he spoke. What are you trying to say? Shouted the teacher. I'm trying to say that I'm going to take a crap. Long Chen said, I was trying to emulate your lofty way of talking forever about something. Maybe I didn't do it very well. Sorry for that. Everyone goodbye. Long Chen walked out. What kind of garbage place was this? He hadn't learned anything but was almost ready to burst from anger. If this was the case, he would rather find somewhere else to go. The teacher had never seen a student leave of their own accord like this. Hence, his whole body quivered with rage. When Long Chen passed him, he suddenly smashed his palm toward Long Chen. Boom. As a result, the table in front of him appeared in Long Chen's hand and smashed into his head. The immense force caused his head to break out of the 3-inch thick table. Long Chen then kicked him in the abdomen, sending him smashing into the wall. His body was embedded in the wall with the table still hanging from his neck. He fell unconscious. After that, Long Chen patted his hands and walked out under everyone's stunned gazes. Quick, save the teacher. Those disciples only reacted now and quickly pulled the teacher out of the wall. Suddenly, in the middle of the confusion, 2 screams rang out from outside. Seeing 2 figures shot in like cannonballs, the disciples hastily fled out of the way. Those 2 figures then smashed into the wall, staying there for a while before slowly sliding down. They curled up and groaned in pain. These 2 were the disciples standing guard at the entrance. Long Chen had given them each a slap on his way out. Seeing this scene, the disciples simply stared at each other, flabbergasted. They had never seen such a vicious character in their lifetime. The most special institute in the High Firmament Academy? Long Chen's expression was dark with anger. This academy was a complete mess. In the lower world, he had never seen a sect be messed up to this extent. Corruption, rot, bullying the weak, even the teachers looked down their noses at others. Now, Long Chen suspected that the dragon expert was deliberately messing with him to have sent him here. What kind of garbage place was this? He couldn't stay here any longer. While these people were still in chaos, he walked out. However, when he reached the exit, he was dumbfounded. How exactly was he supposed to leave? He had come on a flying mount. The mount had already left, and he couldn't use transportation formations. Was he supposed to walk? The High Firmament Academy was enormous. He had seen countless canyons and wild beasts on the flight here. Every step would be filled with danger if he was to walk. The elder at the entrance was still sweeping, so Long Chen went up to him. Senior, may I ask which way I should go to leave the High Firmament Academy? The elder didn't look at Long Chen. While still solemnly sweeping, he replied, Youngster, why do you want to leave? You should know that the High Firmament Academy is a place that countless people dream of coming to. This garbage place isn't somewhere I want to stay another day in. All I encountered were a bunch of dog-like idiots. If I stay any longer, I'll start killing people. If that happens, I won't be able to leave, said Long Chen, shaking his head. Dog-like? What does that mean? Asked the elder. It's nothing. In any case, the High Firmament Academy is truly disappointing. I want to leave. Senior, can you tell me the correct path I should take? Long Chen cupped his fists. Although this elder was just sweeping, Long Chen felt an indescribable aura from this elder, making him feel that this elder was not as ordinary as he seemed. That feeling stemmed entirely from the senses of the 9-star Hegemon body art. However, this time, even the 9-star Hegemon body art was only able to give Long Chen an extremely vague feeling. He was unable to grasp what it meant. No matter what, even if he had misjudged, this elder definitely knew how to leave after being here for so long. Does a correct path exist in this world? If you can't even properly walk the path in front of you, then any path you take will ultimately end up in a dead end, said the elder. Long Chen was startled. This elder's words possessed multiple meanings. It seemed that he was giving him advice. Just at this moment, over 10 figures appeared in the sky. These people were able to stand in the sky while in the immortal world. Hence, upon seeing them, Long Chen's heart shook. Brazen brat, you dare to cause chaos in the Pill Institute. Kneel and wait to be executed, shouted one of them. Kneel to be executed? Ha! Long Chen's fury instantly ignited once more. If you want to execute me, then come and try it. Let me see just how many of you, high and mighty fellows, can live to see tomorrow's sun. Killing intent erupted within Long Chen's eyes. Ever since coming to the High Firmament Academy, he had only met with difficulties every step of the way. Being surrounded by vile characters was unbearable. If these people really did attack him, although he didn't know these people's realms, he was confident that a few of them would perish if he did go all out. Courting death. That person roared furiously, but just as he prepared to attack, the sweeping elder spoke. Youngsters shouldn't have such a fiery temper. To sacrifice one's life for a moment of emotion is completely not worth it. Old fellow, just focus on your sweeping, shouted that person. If it wasn't for this elder's age, he might have directly attacked him. The elder sighed and didn't say anything. He continued sweeping. As for Long Chen, to avoid implicating him, he intentionally took a few steps away from the elder. He then looked at the disciples that had just come. The current Long Chen was ready to kill. The rage inside of him still burned, but now that he had entered battle state, it was a quiet rage. His astral energy then began to circulate within him. Although his spiritual yuan had completely vanished after entering the immortal world, his astral energy was still present. Once he did attack, he would definitely take their lives. This was simply his will. He wasn't actually so vicious and merciless, but his will did not permit him to be insulted like this. It was his bottom line. You dare to resist? Capture him. That disciple curiously dived down from the sky like a falcon, his palms slamming toward Long Chen's chest. His movements were skilled and confident. His immortal chi circulated within him, possessing great power. However, before he could touch Long Chen's chest, Long Chen's hand had struck his face. No one had expected someone whose mortal chi had yet to regress would have the ability to strike back under the pressure of immortal aura. This slap's power directly broke that disciple's neck. He was flung onto the ground, unleashing a wave of dust. His body twitched, but he was unable to move. Everyone who saw this was shocked. Following that shock was anger, and they all charged at Long Chen together. Long Chen's leg swung out, knocking one disciple down. He then grabbed the latter's ankle and used him as a human weapon, swinging him at the others. The others jumped in shock. That person's bones were broken, so he was completely out of it. If they further injured him, it could be fatal. As the law enforcement disciples of the Pill Institute, they were alchemists who weren't skilled in combat. But due to their status, no one dared to resist when they attacked. Of course, today the one that they were attacking was Long Chen. Release him. Those disciples retreated and shouted at Long Chen. A bunch of idiots who have never seen blood before also dares to be so arrogant. You've led far too peaceful lives. Your heads have rotted. Long Chen looked at those disciples disdainfully. As soon as the fighting started, he recognized that these disciples might have a high cultivation base, but their actual fighting capabilities were terrible. This current scene made Long Chen think of how he had first joined the Shintian monastery back then. The immortal world? It was even worse than the mortal world. There were even more idiots here. Brat, you dare to treat us like this? Just wait. The disciple hanging in Long Chen's grasp was still able to speak. Long Chen then threw him onto the ground, breaking his shoulders and thighs. However, Long Chen also reconnected his neck, instantly allowing that disciple to sense the pain throughout his body. He screamed like a pig being butchered. During this time, more and more people arrived, staring in shock at Long Chen. A newcomer actually dared to torment the law enforcers? Stop! Suddenly, a sharp cry rang out, one filled with majesty, and it shook people's souls. A white-robed middle-aged man with a jade belt around his waist appeared. When that man appeared, everyone hastily bowed. Greetings, 7-star Elder. The man looked to be in his 40s, and his gaze was sharp. The scars of time had left their mark on his face but only gave him an increased charisma of maturity. In his youth, this middle-aged man was definitely a handsome man. Furthermore, he possessed a noble Dao charm around him. When that man arrived, he saw the disciple under Long Chen's foot and frowned. However, when he looked at Long Chen, he paused for a moment. It seemed that he sensed something about Long Chen. Just as he was about to speak, his gaze swept over the crowd and he spotted the sweeping elder. He instantly vanished from the sky, reappearing in front of the elder and bowing. Disciple Heziu greets Senior. I hope I haven't alarmed you. This prestigious 7-star elder was actually bowing to a sweeping elder, stunning everyone. The law enforcement disciples in particular were shaken. They had previously shouted rudely at this elder. Now their hearts clenched. The elder continued to sweep with his head down. He didn't look at the 7-star elder and lightly said, "This old man is just a sweeper. I don't dare to accept 7-star elder's concern." However, after so many years, someone without a good temper has finally appeared in the Pill Institute. It's interesting. Disciple understands. Disciple will handle this matter properly. The 7-star elder once more bowed and turned to Long Chen, as well as the law enforcement disciple. He suddenly waved his hand. After that, Long Chen only felt the space twist, and without any ability to twist, he appeared within a palace. However, the palace was empty of anyone else. It was just him. Long Chen looked around and saw a statue at the front of the palace. The statue was already worn down. Some spots had appeared on it, but when touched, there wasn't even a speck of dust on it. There was an offering table in front of the statue. 2 candles the thickness of arms were lit, emitting a 7-colored flame that cast the palace in a mysterious light. They're just candles, but their power is many times stronger than my pill flame. Long Chen was amazed inside when he sensed the majestic energy of the lit candles. Everything in the immortal world was unknown to him, filled with mystery. It gave him a feeling of powerlessness. Long Chen was originally someone that stood at the peak of the martial heaven continent, but here he was buried by countless experts. He didn't even have a chance to stand out. He then walked to the front of the statue. Seeing that the table was covered in various fruits, he didn't stand on courtesy. He picked one up and bit into it. Juice immediately burst out of it. It was refreshingly sweet. The juice entered his stomach and transformed into immortal spiritual qi that slowly drove away his mortal energy. It was actually even more effective than the mortal ascension pill. Long Chen tossed the pit into the primal chaos space once he was done with the fruit. It slowly germinated. Nice, the primal chaos space is still effective in the immortal world. Long Chen was originally worried that the primal chaos bead might not be able to allow the immortal world's spiritual plants to grow, so he was happy to see this. The number 1 requirement for cultivation was neither talent nor aptitude nor effort nor willpower. It was resources. Without any resources, everything else was nonsense. Since the primal chaos bead was still an endless cornucopia for him, his original worries vanished like smoke. With the primal chaos bead, he didn't need to worry about running out of resources. Even if he wasn't in the High Firmament Academy, he had a way to make money. With 1 bead, the heavens would fall to him. Just as Long Chen was eating the spiritual fruits without the slightest scruple, 2 pairs of eyes stared at him from another room. One of them was the 7-star elder Heziu. The other was a white-robed elder with white hair and a rosy face. The elder watched as Long Chen ate the fruits on the offerings table. His expression was odd. He really is unrestrained. His blood qi is mixed with the dragon race's aura. Moreover, his spiritual strength is a clash of two opposing forces that result in unstable fluctuations. I've never seen such a person refine pills before. But I personally checked his exam. All his answers merited full marks. However, with that explosive temper, can he really calm down enough to refine pills? When I first saw him, I saw the Pill Sovereign's divine radiance appear on him, said the 7-star elder. The Pill Sovereign's divine radiance? Are you sure? Asked the elder, shocked. Although it was just a flash, I'm sure. That's why I sent him to the ancestral palace for observation. The 7-star elder nodded. Furthermore, the senior cleaning the institute also mentioned him. The elder gasped. That senior was already here when the dean arrived. His seniority is shocking. However, even after so many years, he's never bothered with matters of the academy. For him to mention this person, it must have some deeper meaning. Institute head, what do you think? How should I arrange things? Probed the 7-star elder. This elder was the one in charge of the Pill Institute. The High Firmament Academy had multiple institutes, and those in charge of them were addressed as institute heads. As for the head of the overall academy, they were called the dean. There's nothing to arrange. Treat him as you would normally. The lower levels of the academy are already filled with rot and decay, almost corrupt to the bone. I've brought this up to the dean multiple times, but he merely brushed me off with a smile. It's incomprehensible. I cannot see through the dean's mind. If this Long Chen has the Pill Sovereign's divine radiance, then he must have used the Pill Dao to corroborate his Dao in the lower plane. Even in the immortal world, his Pill Sovereign's divine radiance is still able to manifest. That means that his Pill Dao can reach limitless heights. Such a genius cannot be pushed out. However, he cannot be indulged, or it would break the rules, said the institute head. Understood. The 7-star elder nodded and left. The institute head then stared at Long Chen for a long time alone. He shook his head. Brazen, coarse, explosive. Such a person can really use the Pill Dao to ascend to the immortal world? Long Chen was still enjoying all the various fruits. As he did, he examined the statue more closely. It looked almost like a melting ice sculpture, and its face was already unclear. Based on the hands and feet, it seemed more like a woman. Suddenly, the fruit in his hand dropped to the ground. He felt like he was struck by lightning. In that statue's hand was a flower. This flower was also part of the carving and not an actual flower. But Long Chen's heart pounded when he saw it. The Jewel Blood Jade Orchid. This flower was the Jewel Blood Jade Orchid. In his entire life, he had only ever seen one. The instant he saw it, its name and the story related to it automatically appeared in his mind. At that time, he had given it to Yu Qingxian. When Yu Qingxian had sacrificed her life for him, it had reappeared. It had then absorbed her blood qi and vanished along with her. Now that he saw it again in the hand of this statue, he instantly thought of her. You recognize this flower? The 7-star elder had appeared within the palace at some point. He couldn't help asking when he saw Long Chen staring in shock at the flower. Long Chen's body trembled. After he had recovered from his shock, he looked at the 7-star elder and nodded. I think that I've seen it before. This is the ancestral statue of our Pill Institute. But you ate the offerings to the ancestor. The 7-star elder's expression suddenly grew severe. No one told me. You sent me here and I was hungry, so seeing this food, I thought that you prepared it for me. I only noticed the statue once I finished eating, so you can't blame me. Long Chen shrugged. The 7-star elder almost laughed out of anger. Long Chen had clearly seen the statue as soon as he entered and only started eating afterward. He thought that others didn't know? The 7-star elder had seen it all clearly. However, he didn't bother exposing Long Chen. After he took out new fruits and arranged them, he knelt and kowtowed 3 times. After he finished kowtowing, he looked toward Long Chen again. At other sects, your actions would be considered a grave infraction, and you would be immediately executed. However, at the High Firmament Academy, we don't have such requirements. To kowtow to your ancestors is kowtowing to yourself, kowtowing to your own reverent heart. With a heart of gratitude, you control your own behavior. Long Chen raised his thumb, praising, "Senior's words have deeply touched my heart. Those little brutes outside wouldn't make me want to kill them if they were like this." So far, the 7-star elder was the only one who possessed the mannerism of an expert in the immortal world. The rest were trash. The 7-star elder wore a smile that wasn't a smile. Does your heart hold reverence and gratitude? Of course. This life of mine only exists due to countless seniors, brothers, and sisters sacrificing their own lives. I'm very much afraid of dying, so I never go out to provoke others. But if others bully me, that would be trampling my dignity, the dignity those people died for. I want to live, and I want to preserve my dignity while doing so. I will not suffer humiliation in silence, living a worthless life of nothingness. I will fight. If I die doing so, so be it, said Long Chen. A useful body doing useless things? The 7-star elder shook his head. I disagree with that view. If you endure this kind of humiliation for a long time, your spine will have long since deformed. How will you stand straight in the future? If you kneel for so long, your knees will become glued to the ground. Will you still be able to stand? Aren't those disciples the best example? After being bullied, they hold in so much anger that they simply wait for new disciples to bully in their turn. Every generation of disciples raised becomes someone who bullies the weak while bending to the strong. What can you hope for from such people? Asked Long Chen. The 7-star elder shook his head. This kind of thinking is due to your vantage point. If you stood at a higher level, perhaps you would understand. Since you ascended, you should understand. You can change yourself. You can change the people around you. But your power is definitely not enough to change the entire world. You can seize a city and collapse the heavens. But no matter how great your power is, you cannot change the fundamental nature of humanity. Well, let's not talk about such things for now. I already know what happened. You weren't in the wrong, but using such extreme methods to counterattack makes you not entirely right. Seeing Long Chen was about to argue, the 7-star elder waved his hand. Arguing is meaningless. I'd rather tell you how this matter will be dealt with. Due to both sides bearing responsibility, the consequences will be split. When passing the exam, a newcomer gets a reward, including a pill furnace, pill flame seed, 5,000 immortal crystals dash. If they're all being deducted, I'd rather you not tell me all the rewards I'm not getting, interrupted Long Chen. The 7-star elder smiled. In the Pill Institute, even instructors had to treat him respectfully, let alone ordinary disciples. But Long Chen had interrupted him several times, and yet his expression made it so that this elder couldn't get angry with him. It was truly an oddity. These benefits are taken from you due to how you handled things. As for the mortal rank instructor, his self-control is lacking. Since he targeted a disciple in the classroom and attacked first, his position is revoked. He'll only have a chance to prove himself as an instructor after 3 years. The law enforcement disciples did not carry out their duties according to the rules, so they are also wrong. They are to be imprisoned for 15 days and deducted a month's salary. Hearing all this, Long Chen finally felt a bit better. It seemed that the Pill Institute still had some redeeming points. They didn't just target him, and the others also ended up punished. It could be considered fair. However, perhaps it was simply because this matter had blown up too big, forcing the Pill Institute to make such a decision. At this stage, it was impossible to downplay and brush this matter off. What about afterward? Am I expelled from the Pill Institute? Asked Long Chen. He was prepared to leave, which was why he dared to eat the fruits that were laid out. If he was already getting kicked out, it would be best to grab as many benefits as he could on the way out. In the worst case, at least he would have unlimited fruit to fill his stomach. No. Although this matter was abhorrent, the investigation revealed that the root cause was not entirely your wrong. Thus, we are not expelling you from the Pill Institute. You will remain a probationary disciple and be allowed to attend class. However, because you have no pill flame or pill furnace, it might be a bit awkward when the time comes, said the 7-star elder. So when he was attending class, the instructor would refine pills while lecturing, and everyone would be imitating while he didn't have anything. He would only be able to watch like a fool. That really was awkward. It might be awkward for you this month, but next month you'll get your monthly resources and be able to buy some refining tools in the Pill Treasure Pavilion, said the 7-star elder. Upon entering the immortal world, the moon and star refining furnace and the demon moon furnace had fallen into slumber. Long Chen didn't dare to use them. After all, they were objects from the mortal world. If used in the immortal world, the impact of the immortal chi might cause them to instantly explode. For now, they couldn't help him, but he wasn't in a rush though. He would need to slowly nourish them somehow so that they could be classified as immortal items. Then they could refine pills for him again. The demon moon furnace, the heaven flipping seal, the moon and star refining furnace, they were all his trustworthy comrades. It was just that his power was too weak right now. He needed to get stronger to awaken them. These are the rules for the Academy's disciples. You should familiarize yourself with them so you don't break them in the future. The 7-star elder handed a bone tile to Long Chen. After that, Long Chen's spiritual strength entered it, and a flood of information entered his mind. This bone tile was given to him for him to slowly peruse afterward. Normally, the amount of information within was something ordinary disciples required several days to digest. However, Long Chen instantly received it without his expression changing. Such a powerful spiritual strength shook the 7-star elder. "Senior, can I ask you to help me with something? I want to borrow some money," said Long Chen suddenly. "Sorry, but if I lent you money, it would be considered secretly supporting you. This discipline would then be meaningless." The 7-star elder shook his head. "No, you misunderstand. I don't want to borrow money to buy a pill furnace or pill flame. I want to take the test to become an instructor," said Long Chen. He saw a new path in front of him, and it was a bright and open path. Who would want to be a crappy disciple? He wanted to be the instructor and not suffer this nonsense. The High Firmament Academy's size was difficult to imagine. It was only after reading through the introduction that Long Chen learned that it was split into different divisions. There was the God Institute, the Immortal Institute, the Pill Institute, the Forging Institute, the Formation Institute, and many others. When he had taken the exam, all those aspects were part of the exam. But the Pill Institute could be considered the most special one because it was practically separate from the rest of the academy. It wasn't bound much by the Academy's rules and even had many unique privileges. One of those was that the Pill Institute's disciples had the right to take the exam to become an instructor at any division. It was just that it was not free. Fortunately, the 7-star elder wasn't stingy. Under the condition that it wasn't breaking the rules of the Pill Institute, he lent Long Chen 2,000 immortal crystals, which was the fee for the examination. There were many ranks of instructors within the academy, as well as countless classifications for what they taught. Long Chen chose to register for the exam to become the God Institute's battle instructor. Long Chen felt that other than refining pills, the area he was most skilled in was fighting. He had plenty of experience in this regard. It could be said that from the day he had started cultivating, he had never stopped fighting. If he wasn't in battle, he was on his way to another battle. When Long Chen reported his arrival, the person overseeing the exam was startled. He was about to curse Long Chen because Long Chen's mortal chi was clearly extremely strong. He was still in the mortal ascension realm, so how could he be an instructor? However, when Long Chen revealed his identity plate as a probationary disciple of the Pill Institute, this person forcibly swallowed his curses. A battle instructor has to rely on true skill. It might result in some broken bones, or you might even lose your life. "Don't say that I didn't want you," said that person. "I know. Thanks for the warning." If it weren't for that person's scorn, Long Chen would be a bit more polite to him. However, he wasn't warning Long Chen kindly but was just trying to scare him off. Long Chen was well aware that killing people was not permitted in this exam. So the chance of losing his life was nonsense. Long Chen received the status plate for attending the exam and followed the path. He saw quite a few experts, all of them possessing strong divine energy in their bodies. They were clearly at a higher realm than him. Hence, they were all flabbergasted to see Long Chen, before that shock transformed into contempt. However, someone also raised his thumb to Long Chen. Long Chen was about to thank him when that thumb suddenly dipped down and he sneered at him. Long Chen was infuriated. If they were closer, he'd have definitely slapped that guy. How was it that even the examination to become an instructor resulted in Long Chen encountering this many boneheads? The exam was conducted in batches of 36. Once there were enough people, the next batch would go in. Long Chen advanced with his batch and quickly saw the first part of the exam. It was a black spear around the thickness of an arm. He didn't know what material it was made out of, but it gave off an extremely heavy aura. Every person went up to that spear and tried to lift it over their head. It was a very simple exam, almost insultingly so. But these people all had solemn expressions. Rise. The first person roared and the earth trembled. The spear was lifted, but that person's entire body trembled. Moreover, his bones creaked, his face flushed, and veins popped on his forehead. It was at this moment that Long Chen realized that the black spear's weight might be absolutely astonishing. That person managed to lift it for a breath's time before putting it down. It was considered a pass. However, after he passed, he was covered in sweat. Lifting it had clearly cost him quite a bit of energy. The next person also found it very taxing but passed. The third person was the man who had previously provoked Long Chen with his thumb. His face was a bit long and his chin jutted out. When he arrived in front of the spear, he once more looked back at Long Chen amongst the crowd and sneered, "Little Pill Institute child, your peach fuzz hasn't even come in, but you dare to come to the God Institute to be an instructor? Take care that your heart isn't broken dash. Shut up. If you don't start the test, you'll be kicked out. This is already your third attempt, and you haven't passed yet. This is your final chance, so focus on yourself," barked the examiner. He clearly knew this guy, but seemingly not in a good way. Hee, I'll definitely pass this time. Just wait. Remember not to shout at me like you're superior in the future. The man sneered, seemingly not even placing the examiner in his eyes. With a huff, he steadily picked up the spear and held it above his head, easily passing. He pointed at Long Chen and sneered, "Brat, I hate the arrogant trash from the Pill Institute. You should hurry up and scram, or in the final clash, I'll beat you until your mommy doesn't even recognize you." Long Chen couldn't endure it any longer. With blazing killing intent, he stepped toward that person. However, a person behind him held him back. "Little brother, don't let your emotions get the best of you. That fellow is someone on the divine rankings. He has a powerful backer behind him. Do you see that he doesn't even care about the examiner? Listen to my advice. The God Institute and the Pill Institute are not friendly, so don't provoke him or you'll suffer." The big chin man laughed arrogantly when he heard this advice. He walked off, vanishing at the end of the channel for the next part of the exam. "Many thanks." Long Chen was still full of fury, but he still thanked the person who had held him back since his intentions were kind. However, Long Chen had already noted this big-chinned man in his heart, praying that the so-called final clash he had mentioned would come sooner. At that time, he would show him why flowers were red. Long Chen was near the end of his group, and there were 7 people behind him. The people ahead of him finished their exams one by one. 3 failed, and surprisingly, they failed one after another. It seemed that one failure caused a blow to the confidence of the ones behind them. The one in front of Long Chen was the 4th one. After seeing the 3 people in front of him fail, his face was slightly pale. But he still used all his power to raise the spear. In the end, he managed to lift it, but his power wasn't great enough. His base wasn't steady, and he fell backward, causing the black spear to fall toward Long Chen. "Careful!" The examiner jumped in shock, not expecting this person's mental fortitude to be so lacking. He actually lost control of the spear. If it smashed into someone, it would definitely injure if not kill them. Just as everyone was startled, a steady hand caught the spear. Just like that, Long Chen held the spear in the air, leaving everyone speechless. "It's not as heavy as I imagined." Long Chen weighed the spear in his hand. Although it was heavy, he was more than capable of holding it steadily with a single hand. Did the immortal world's experts not have powerful physical bodies? What astonishing physical strength! You pass. The examiner praised Long Chen and directly let him through. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.